Hello? Do you hear me?
Huh? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Give us a moment so we can check the audio here and...
Yeah, I'm just trying to dial in from my room. Could you let the user in, please?
Okay, can we try your audio, please?
Yeah, I'm just... Is it possible for you to let the room Cirrus in so that I can dial in?
Wait a moment. Okay, please, sorry, what did you hear?
Sorry, there should be someone trying to enter the room. If you could just let them in, because that's the kind of big TV system and it might be better.
That the other person is who?
Me.
Ah, okay.
I'm on my laptop versus being on a... unless this is fine for you. I'm very relaxed. No, sorry. So I'm currently dialing in from my laptop.
Yeah?
But I'm also in a room that has a Zoom system, which is a slightly...
system. Okay, no problem. Okay, give us a moment. We will let the room in, but it's not giving us any video.
Oh. In that case, let's just do this. If you're happy with the view, as it were.
That's fine. We're looking at.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Fine.
That's fine. Because we're cropping some of the sides, so you are not going
Perfect.
to see the entire room.
Got you. Perfect. Okay. Great. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great.
Daniela, this is Alejandra. I'm the director at Digital Summit. I just want to thank you. We're very sorry that you couldn't join us in person.
No, thank you. Yeah, thank you for being flexible. We just have done traveling,
the
so I'm...
circumstances are obviously, I mean, what can we say? We're just happy to have you here.
Well, I'm happy to be here, so...
Okay, yeah. Bye-bye, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so you are seeing our plateau and you, right?
Yeah, I can see myself like 3 times. I can see the screen. Sorry, I can see the stage, the screen. There's like a little...
The stage and yourself on the right, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's because you are like, if you see on the stage, you are kind of in a LED
I'm in a little
screen,
box.
kind of a virtual presence. So yeah, you will see like yourself 3 times, but it's just
perfect. No, that's fine.
See you.
Have you had to do this for a couple of other speakers, or am I the only one?
You will be the first one.
Yeah, you're actually the first one.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're fine with this. We can hear you. You can hear us. That's
perfect.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. Great. Should I just stay on, or do you want me to turn my video off?
Give me a moment.
Okay.
You keep it the session as it is, and we will manipulate the video from here.
Okay. I'll put myself on mute for the time being, and then let me know when we kick off.
Yeah, keep yourself on mute. And we will let you know when you should unmute yourself. All right, perfect.
Hello, 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 hello. So, we're going to have an afternoon full of fun and games again for you. Thanks to all of you who have kind of come in time. Everyone else is outside enjoying the sunshine or something like that. We have an interesting afternoon program with some fantastic speakers as always, and then we have a pitch competition. So maybe some of you are from companies that are going to pitch. I always say that entrepreneurs should be the stars of events, and almost all of the entrepreneurs that you've spoken to are people who at one stage or other were people who did these pitching events, and that's really how you learn. So we're going to kick off now with a chat between Hugo and Christophe. So Hugo and Christophe, if you'd like to come out, please. Okay, we really need to work out some sort of system to do this, but anyway, we'll like, okay. Okay, we ready? Let's go. Okay. So I'm going to let the people introduce themselves. My job, you just got to make sure microphones are working. Sit anywhere where you like. You don't have to be, there's just two, so you don't have to be socially distanced and everything. So I've made the joke about the sharks and the VCs already, you know, which is like, you know, for once.
Quite obvious
for
joke,
once,
right?
Yes, indeed. But the obvious jokes are the best ones. Okay. So, yeah, so your microphone is working and your microphone is working?
Is it?
Perfect. Yes, it is. Okay, so you guys have 20 minutes. Enjoy yourselves.
Okay, great. So I guess Daniela should be connected by Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Daniela. Do you hear us? Hello,
Yes,
how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Where are you now, London?
I am in London, yeah. Sorry, I couldn't be there in person. The COVID situation isn't ideal here, so minimizing travel.
No worries, no worries. Here is very sunny, very nice day, so hopefully you can have me here quite soon.
I'm very jealous. It's very gray here.
Okay, thank you very much to everyone. My name is Hugo Mar Domingo. I'm a partner at All Iron Ventures. We are a Spanish venture capital fund that invests mainly in early stage across different European countries and different sectors. And well, today we are having a panel about Spain is different. So what's happening in Spain? Why Spain, the Spanish ecosystem is a good and interesting place for international investors. I have my own ideas about this, but I thought I could be somehow biased to speak about this. So it's much better that if Christophe and Daniela, which doesn't have any kind of relation with the, at least at the personal level with the Spanish ecosystem, give us their ideas on this. So just to start, guys, could you please make a quick introduction on yourselves and your relation with Spain?
Daniela, you get started.
Perfect, I will do. So hi everyone, I'm Daniela. I'm an investor here at Dawn Capital, which is an early stage fund based here out of London. We invest across Europe in early stage companies, so Series A, Series B, only in B2B. So very much B2B software and B2B fintech. In terms of my relationship with Spain, I lead our efforts in terms of finding, you know, the next unicorn out of Spain. So that is my, I guess, connection.
Okay, and I'm Christophe, so I'm representing Elaya in Spain. Elaya is a 20 years old VC fund. We are managing 650 millions, and we're investing from seed to Series B. And we only do B2B, and we like to have tech as a big component of the value proposition. So it's either tech, deep tech, or tech-led companies. I've been living in Spain for the last 18 years in Barcelona, and I'm an entrepreneur more than an investor. I've built a few companies. The last one was GetUp. You may have heard about it, which is a sort of marketplace for SaaS products. And we sold it to Gartner. And Elaya has been investing in 8 companies, I believe, in Spain. The most known one are Holded. So we did the Series B at Holded, and the company sold 6 months after we got in, which was a bit too early. It was a great exit, but a bit too early. We've done the Hotels Network in Barcelona. We're in Geoblink in Madrid. We are in Marfil in Barcelona, and a few others. So we've got strong ties with the Spanish ecosystem, and actually Elaya, one of Elaya's co-founders is of Spanish origin. So we invest across Europe, but a lot in France and quite a lot in Spain too.
Daniela, Christophe already said why he's excited about Spain, but what about you? What about Dine Capital?
Well, I mean, beyond the excuse to kind of go eat great food, there's lots to be excited about in terms of Spain as far as kind of companies are concerned. I think for us, I mean, obviously we invested in, well, perhaps not obviously, but we have invested in Spanish companies before. We've invested in Honor in 2019, and we've seen a series of fantastic companies recently as well raise money, anything from, Holded, Factorial, Abacum. I think for us, in terms of what excites us, is that there's more and more B2B companies coming out of Spain. I think, in particular, starting to sell as well with Europe as a focus, given that we focus on Europe only. A lot of the times where, I guess, the focus shifts to LATAM, it kind of rules us out a bit. So the, I guess, growing, spread of Spanish companies selling into Europe is super exciting for us.
So maybe I can talk a bit more about our excitement for the Spanish market. So as I said, I've known this ecosystem for the last at least 15 years. And initially it was mostly, B2C, classified internet companies, coming off Grupo Intercom or, visionaries like Iñaki with coaches and things like that. And obviously for Elaya at that time, as we are only doing B2B, it was not that exciting. But when I started building companies in 2005, I believe, it was a spin-off of Cytel in Barcelona. And it was the very beginning, of tech companies emerging in the Spanish market. But frankly, there were very, very few. And I've seen the ecosystem growing and building up, in 15 years to become what it is today. And maybe we'll have some discussion later on about it. And I think it has been growing in a very healthy way. So it's not been growing too fast, both in terms of capital available, development of the hubs, public governmental support. It's been growing at a steady pace, which, in my opinion, is laying some very good foundations, for the future. So we've not seen excesses, bubbles, and things like that. And I think, most of the time when we are meeting Spanish entrepreneurs, they are ambitious but humble. And they've got good technical backgrounds. There are still some deficiencies, and we'll talk about it later on. But we like to invest in the Spanish market because we basically believe it's healthy, and it's not like in other tech hubs too bubbly.
A lot of the VC funds across Europe think on not only in Spain but rather on Southern Europe. So they think on Spain, Portugal, France. Christophe, in your opinion, being French and having these local ties, do you think it's a reality that there is a Southern Europe market, or they are very separate and different markets?
I don't think so. I mean, they are very. I don't see that many ties between France and Spain from business development point of view at the startup level. I mean, there's a geographical proximity. So many Spanish startups are trying to go into the French market as their next step. But most of the time, they're more interested in, English-speaking, countries. It's probably a little bit prestigious. I don't see that many times, except maybe at the investment level between Portugal and Spain. And I don't see any ties at all between Spain and Italy, neither with France. So I don't know what's going on in Italy, but probably not that much, which is a shame because, we never heard about Italian companies. We are not really looking, though. So I wouldn't say that there's a Southern Europe cluster of startups or investors. I mean, some investors have decided, to focus on the Southern Europe geography, but more, for accessibility reason rather than something homogeneous happening in the ecosystem.
Yeah, I do tend to agree as well. This kind of Southern Europe, something very conceptual in some investors' mindset, but then when it comes to practice, it's not so real. What about you, Daniela? Do you think on Southern Europe, or it's different markets?
I mean, I'm inclined to agree. I think, particularly, France being compared to Spain and Portugal is, I think, a completely different ballgame. At most, you might be able to say, Iberia, and kind of lump Portugal and Spain together. But I think even then, you have very different considerations in terms of, even when you're thinking about the initial steps of a company, or if you're, on the analysis side, Portuguese companies often go straight to international sales, and Spanish companies often sell into their home market first. And so I think they're very difficult to actually compare side by side. So I think in terms of bunching them into a Southern Europe / Iberia category, I think at most that's just a way of, allocating people's time to where you focus. But as a kind of comparison on the companies that come out of there and the way that, the ecosystem works, I think they're very different.
And if you look at, and you, Chris, you have this experience looking at the ecosystem evolving over time, you see where the Spanish ecosystem right now, and you compare this with more mature ecosystems. For example, I compare with France, which is, maybe also right in the bubble part, but I guess it's a very, very, very solid ecosystem in general. Where are we missing? What is missing here? So before it was big market, not so many entrepreneurs. Right now, everything is evolving. And I would like to specifically answer one thing, which is in between capital and talent, what is the limiting factor at the moment?
Okay. So maybe because we've got a bit of time, I'll start with what I believe is not missing, and then I talk about what is missing. First of all, the title of this session is Spain different, or why is Spain different?
Spain is different perspectives for international VCs.
All right, I don't think Spain is different from any other tech hubs. It's just lagging a little bit behind some more advanced hubs in Europe, like London, Berlin, Paris, Stockholm, maybe, but it's not very different. I think it's following exactly the same path, and as I said earlier, probably in a healthier way. So what has changed in the last years is that there's sufficient capital from local VCs to cover any kind of seed level investments. And this is new. Just a few years ago, it wasn't the case. So it was hard for entrepreneurs to find seed level investment. And some international VCs were participating into that because there was not enough capital available. This has changed, and I would think that the vast majority of seed investment are being made by Spanish VCs, which is the way it should be. And this round, can be big enough, to give the munition to the companies, to really get started. So this is new, and from an investment point of view, I think it's a fantastic thing because it gives more autonomy to the ecosystem. From a talent standpoint, I think Spain has always been very good at the technical level. So the tech talent I've seen in the last 15 years in Spain was up to scratch with what we could see in other hubs, but it was lagging behind in terms of business development, probably by a kind of inferiority complex, I would say. People thought that they could only sell in Spain and maybe in LATAM, although many have tried and many burned themselves, in this market. But I don't know. There was this feeling that it would be difficult, to get out of Spanish-speaking countries. Again, this has changed a lot, recently, but I think that was missing. So very good on technology. A little bit less up to scratch in terms of business skills. Obviously in Spain you've got two very nice hubs, Madrid and Barcelona, or Barcelona and Madrid, depending on which football team you support. And then, some emerging, hubs like Valencia, where we are today, which is probably the most interesting hub in Spain these days.
Bilbao as well.
And Bilbao, it's true. But Bilbao, they've always been very specific in terms of scope. It's more industrial, industrial startups. No,
it was, but it's changing.
It's changing. Okay, so Bilbao, and we see some stuff happening also in Andalusia. So clearly, the ecosystem is being matured and is working on more legs, which is great. So I think there are many things in place that can guarantee us that in a couple of years from now, Spain, will be at the level where Paris or Berlin are today. What is missing, I think, is two things. The first thing is innovation. So if you look at the big, unicorns or scale-ups, let's not use unicorns terms because it doesn't mean that much, but scale-ups in Spain, I mean, traditionally they were, as I said, internet, B2C, classified kind of business. And the big scale-ups or the big companies today are more, around the gig economy, Glovo and Cabify and Job and Talent, and these are the big companies of today, not all of them, but most of them, and they remain copycats. Okay, so they are fantastic companies, but not very innovative. And I don't see, and I don't know, except maybe some emerging scale-ups in the B2B space, companies that have built, European or worldwide category leader in their space. So, I mean, you could think of companies like Typeform, maybe, or Ona, which is doing a fantastic job, or in the travel space, you've got a few, but still, it doesn't come across as this has been invented in Spain and it's now broadening worldwide, and it came, from the innovation of brain, of a Spanish founder. And I think the reason for that is very simple. The main reason is that the amount of public money that is allocated, to R&D in the Spanish, in Spain, is way below what is allocated in Germany, where I think it's 3% of GDP. UK, France, I think it's about 2% of GDP, and I think Spain is 1%. Okay, and this has a huge impact on the capacity, to innovate. The second point is probably a lack of ambition. As I said earlier, and I don't think it's justified at all because you've got some amazing founder in Spain. They lack ambition where they start their project, and when they develop their project and start to scale, it's there are exceptions, of course, but it's difficult to resist to a very good exit, and obviously you can understand that, because when you can become wealthy, you think twice about deciding, to take an additional risk. But I've got the feeling that many companies have been built somehow to be sold rather than to become really big. So I would say that many things are right in order to build the next super tech hub in Europe, but we are still missing in terms of innovation and ambition from Spanish founders.
Daniela?
Yeah,
so what's missing?
I think part of it is, as Crystal said at the beginning, a matter of time. The Spanish ecosystem is, in some ways younger, you could say, than other ecosystems in Europe. And I think one of the things that you see in mature ecosystems are the kind of mafias that come out of the, really large exits. And perhaps Spain is just missing a few more of those to generate and, incubate, I guess, the next generation of founders who, might start addressing more of the B2B problems they faced as part of the scale up and may have, more innovative solutions to the problems that they're facing. So I think to a degree, one of the things that I see more in other countries in Europe is this, idea of, or they are ex PayPal, they're ex, whatever the case may be, and have gone to launch, insert companies A through Z. So I think that's an element of, I guess, the maturity of the market. And you often see, this translates into founders, it translates into investors, and as a whole kind of brings the market up as you kind of share the knowledge and the talent and the experience of just, scaling a company. I think the other thing that is interesting about Spain is that you almost have a kind of Goldilocks market scenario in that your market is just right. It's not too small, it's not too large, your market is just right. And as a result, it's very comfortable to sell into a market that is just right to kind of launch your company and, you know, to your point, get to a stage where you can be acquired and it's good technology and that's great. But I think we find or have found that so far it's difficult to see many Spanish companies going beyond the very comfortable just right market into, you know, larger companies, larger markets across Europe and the UK. So I think one of the things that perhaps we want to see, which is linked to perhaps the ambition point, is just more of a global ambition from day one. Which I think, you know, Israel, for example, you know, sells to the US basically from day one because they know that their market isn't self-sustaining. And Portugal, to a degree, also has to face the kind of small market problem and therefore international from day one. So I think that's another interesting thing that I think is evolving. And I think there's also an element, I mean, at least in the UK, it's incredibly easy to set up a company. And I know that is not an obstacle really for many founders. But, you know, given the combination of a relative lack of government funding, the fact that it's ever so slightly more difficult just to kind of start and go. You know, in the UK, you can set up a company, you know, as part of setting up a business bank account. Like, it's so easy and so cheap that it's offered as part of Tide's, you know, onboarding. You just set up the company as you go. So enabling, I guess, as a kind of more broader, I know that there's a startup law that was passed or is passing around kind of easing bureaucracy around setting up startups. So I wonder, you know, to what degree that will kind of facilitate, I guess, a wave of innovation as well, as it makes it easier for people to kind of test and learn to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are good points. And with the new latest startups and those mafias, you know, Daniela was talking about are existing now, and they are starting, you know, to generate, you know, baby companies that will grow big. So I think all these elements, you know, are being put in place. So I don't think Spain is different at all. I think Spain has all the ingredients to become, you know, the next major startup hubs in Europe. It's just a question of time. It's true, and it will happen without any doubt.
So we are not different. We just came a little bit later, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you already see that, right? The interest from international VCs in the Spanish market, even over the past 18 months, has, you know, as far as I'm aware, doubled, if not tripled. You know, I think Target Global is setting up their offices, some offices in Spain. You know, you've got more and more, I think, you know, Western European funds, you know, focusing on Spain as a kind of core, you know, startup market in a way that perhaps a few years ago wasn't the case. So I guess, you know, you've now got the kind of local funds covering from everything from pre-seed to seed. And I guess there's an element still of requiring international VCs to kind of fill the, you know, Series A, Series B, you know, gap, which is ideally where we come in. But, you know, there's more and more coming to Spain and focusing on that. And I think, you know, in terms of from a VC perspective, just being on the ground and having that interest is key to finding them in the first place. And if you're not there, you know, the likelihood of doing and seeing and elevating a company to the next level is just much less likely.
So just a very quick question because we're running out of time. What's the best way for the local entrepreneurs, for the Spanish entrepreneurs to reach to you? Is it directly, or is it with a Spanish fund that's already committing into the round? So what's the best way for them to approach you?
I can take
Okay, go Daniela.
Okay, well, I mean, honestly, I would say either, right? I think from a international VC perspective with no physical presence in Spain as itself, you know, in my personal perspective, I go to Spain once a quarter and try and see as many companies as possible, but inevitably there's an element of, you know, to a degree, hoping that, you know, funds in Spain will escalate, you know, their companies to me as well. So I guess the nice thing, if you are funded by a Spanish fund, you know, you will hope and expect them, I guess, to kind of showcase you to later stage funds, whether they are Spanish or international. But all I'm trying to say is that that's not to say that just because you haven't been funded by a Spanish fund doesn't mean that you can't reach out to an international VC, because everyone is looking at Spain these days.
No, I agree. And I mean, as far as Elia is concerned, just reach out to me. So I'm on LinkedIn, and I am responsive on LinkedIn. So it's very easy to contact me. We do work with all the early stage VCs in Spain, and you know, they know exactly what is our investment thesis, and most of the time they send us, you know, the right companies. So it's a good route, you know, to get us involved. And also, you know, I think we've got an email address on our website where you can drop your deck. And frankly, we've founded companies that have just done that. So don't hesitate to do it because it also works. So very easy to reach out to Elia. And trust me, if you've got a nice project, you know, we take time, you know, looking at it. And even if we don't consider this project is not right for us, we'll also look at it and give you some feedback.
So he's a former entrepreneur, super successful. So if you have the chance to touch out with him, he's very expert in B2B software solutions. So don't lose the opportunity to do that. Daniela, thank you very much. And as said, hopefully you can come to Valencia soon and enjoy the sunny weather here.
I hope so too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we proceed on to the next panel, and that's the way with panels, you know, you're on and then you're off, you know, there's no sentimentality, everyone breezes. So we're now going to move on to talk about sustainability and mobility, and we're going to have a rather interesting panel with people from Cabify and people from Zeros talking about hyperloops and all sorts of really interesting things. So Martha, if you could come out, please. If you're ready to come. Yes, here we go, Martha. Okay, we just need to do one kind of microphone-y thing going on. So anyway.
Thank you very much.
So if you can sit down and we just check your microphone is working. Vicente, Vicente, and make sure everyone.
Jaime.
And that's perfect, fine. So that's working. David. Okay, sit anywhere where you like, actually. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, probably we might as well do the social distancing stuff. Yeah, okay. So you can just sit there. You're sort of like, you know, the clothing thing is completely random. You know, the white shirt and blue jeans, maybe that's a sort of a thing. Okay, could you just check the microphones work? Say
hello. Hi. Hello, hello.
Hi. Okay, you're all good. Over to you, Martha.
Thank you very much. So, good evening, good afternoon, more than evening. Thank you for being here in this tough minute. You know, everybody's having coffee, but all of you are really, really, really looking forward to listen all the cool three guys I have here, like dressed in uniform. I didn't realize until now that they came to share the knowledge about the future of mobility. I'm Marta del Castillo, I'm CEO of South Summit, and I'm really, really, really grateful to be here, thanks to Digital Summit, and thanks to Valencia Startup. So we have the chance to share a little bit about the future. We're going to talk this evening about the future of mobility. And it's not a simple future or not a simple sector, because we, the four of us here, believe that the future of mobility is strongly linked to the future of sustainability. And it's more like a chicken and egg thing. It's like we cannot be sustainable if we don't reinvent the way that we transport things and people. And we cannot keep like thinking on how it's going to be the transport of the future if we don't include sustainability factor among us. So we have like three key players here. We have coming from Celeros, we have David, we had Jaime that he's coming from Free Now. And we have Christian, who didn't manage to come here, and we have Vicente Pascual, who is also the founder of Cabify, and they're going to share us a little bit of their insight about mobility and the future of sustainable transport. So I'm going to start with David, right, or the other way, because thinking about the future of mobility, we have to think of new means of transport. And I believe that you from Celeros, you're just supporting one of the biggest bets in Europe and in the whole world of one of the new means of transport, intercity, and even like future ways of doing other ways of transportation, that it's Hyperloop. And it's still like we are all very curious about Hyperloop and when we will be able to use it. Like, can you tell us a little bit about how do you see this future, and how do you include Hyperloop and Celeros in this new close or middle time future?
Thank you, Marta. And first of all, it's a pleasure for me to share this panel with you and these two leaders in the mobility sector. And regarding our vision of how the future of mobility will be, we see three main pillars in this sense. First one would be the sustainability. That is basically the topic of today and an important part of the innovation and the event we are having today. The second part will be digital. It's an additional layer to everything we know, every technology. We can add this extra layer. And finally, intermodality. It's a key element. And it's maybe related with the question of if we see Hyperloop as the future of transportation. The answer would be if we see Hyperloop as an important part of the future of transportation, but it's really important to understand how we'll be connected with the rest of means of transportation. So we understand mobility as a whole and not just like independent technologies connecting people and cargo around. So this is really important for us. And Hyperloop is basically designed to connect long distances between 400 and 1,500 kilometers. And it's basically using levitation and tube with low pressure to avoid the friction. So we can go faster with less energy consumption. And this is a really powerful technology that is being developed internationally today. But at the same time, we can't lose this complete view at this intermodality we need for the future. So from Celeros, we are combining both things, our technology as our main development, but at the same time understanding other means of transportation to have the most of every means of transportation and take this efficiency to the top level when we combine all the means of transportation.
This is a tough question, and I'm kind of glad that Christian, that he's represented Airbus, is not here. But talking about sustainability, thinking that Hyperloop and Celeros will be maybe other mean of transportation that might be in top of other means of transportation, and thinking about the distances, what would be like the means of transportation or the companies that you might rule out of the market if Hyperloop was working?
That's a good question. I think we are not getting out a complete mean of transportation in any case, but we are analyzing what we have today and what we will have in the future. So we are going to see incremental innovations, but also disruptive innovations. And we can see, for example, air taxis, like the City Airbus. We can see also supersonic flights, electric vehicles, autonomous cars, the sharing models. There are many different kinds of technologies coming. And in the case of Hyperloop, we are in the middle between the train and the airplane. And probably the most, the direct comparison would be the short-haul flights that we are seeing also in different governments and different policies trying to avoid these short flights, trying to move these flights to the ground level. Of course, railway will be one of the industries having this part of the market. But from some distances, Hyperloop will be there as well to cover these distances. So I would say probably the short-haul flights would be the direct collision. But at the same time, Hyperloop is optimal for a high flux of passengers and cargo, and airplanes are still a good tool for some connections and for a more distribution in terms of flexibility in this sense. So we want to be friends. Also with, of course, actually we are cooperating with Airbus in Germany for some of the systems in the electric propulsion of the Hyperloop. So we are cooperating in that sense, and both the railway and the airplane industry know that they can take benefit of joining also with us this Hyperloop development.
That was very diplomatic, but it's true. There's room for all the players. So now I'm going back to Vicente, because if you all know, if not, I'm going to tell you, he's one of the founders of Cabify, which I believe that really it was a revolution to the way that we move and that urban mobility is being different in all our cities and mostly in Spain, where you have your biggest operation. So I was wondering, like, how is that the support or the contribution of Cabify to the new ways of urban mobility and this new future that you're building?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be here today with all of you. And going to the question, I think that our main contribution is to bring options to the table, because at the end of the day, transportation, and mostly urban transportation, it's all about convenience. And bringing options to the people, it's our main contribution. But most of all, I think that the thing that we have developed the most is the making the people accustomed to using this number of options with a single tap of their finger. I think that's the main change. I think that's the main contribution. In Cabify, we believe that the mission that we have, the thing that we really want to do, is to make cities a better place to live. And I think that bringing sustainable options to the table, be it bikes or net zero emissions cars or mopeds, it's the way to go, and it's the way that we are going to limit or reduce the usage of private cars in the cities, and thus make the cities better without cars parked everywhere, without the traffic. But the reality is that even though we have been growing quite fastly, not only us, but also other competitors, and quite constantly, the private car is still king. And we see that in some of the cities where we are operating, 50 or 60% of the rides that are done per day are done with private cars. So I'm glad that you say that the word revolution. There hasn't been a revolution. There has been just an evolution of the habits of the people in urban transportation. But I think that we are coming to that revolution. I think that we are having more and more options, more liquid options, more dense. They are more readily available. There is a lot of competition, so that's good to make this change happen. And I think that with that in mind, with the availability of options that we already have and the technology that we already have, and when the people develop a little bit more of this sustainable mindset of knowing that we need to move to sustainable transportation options, we are going to see the tipping point for the revolution. And I think that's going to happen quite fast. I think that we have just seen the tip of the iceberg in urban mobility. And well, very fast and tectonic changes are going to happen very soon. So we are very happy to be a part of that.
I truly believe that you three are part of this revolution, and it's true that we're just seeing the start of this revolution, and it might change I think that it will change in short time than what we expect. Even I was reading that last year we decreased at 20% of sales in private owned cars. Okay, the pandemic did some kind of, it influenced a little bit, but still I think there's a tendency to reducing the ownership and using transport as a service. I'm going back to you, but first I want to ask Jaime, because we're talking about this revolution of urban mobility, and I believe, Jaime, that from Free Now, you're part of this change, and you're offering these different solutions of transport as a service, and I want you to share a little bit of how is your contribution, and how do you see that this, because Free Now, Jaime told me there are more in 100 cities, and I want to know, like, is that different within cities, and how is Free Now supporting this revolution, and how does it change within different countries and cities in the world?
Sure. So first of all, I want to thank everyone as well, not only for being with this excellent panel, but also because for the first time in my life, I know how mermaids feel. It's great to be among so many fishes. Jokes aside, I think what we're seeing in the urban mobility is this sort of evolution of this bundling and unbundling dance that we're seeing is something that has happened very frequently in internet businesses. We've seen that in travel, we've seen that in music, and I think we're going to see a very similar evolution in some senses. I think ours is a good example of that. We started as a taxi hailing company in Hamburg. Then gradually we expanded to 16 countries and over 100 cities. And currently we are servicing roughly 50 million customers a year. Most of that is still ride-hailing, but throughout 2021 we've done a huge progress on the multimodality side. So we decided to become a platform that integrates and aggregates options. And we have integrated the likes of Voy, Tier, Cultra, ShareNow, Miles, and Emmy, and many more that hopefully will come soon. So we will end up this year with roughly 30 cities in which we offer multi-mobility services, and more or less 4 million rides this year in non-ride-hailing services, which is quite a lot of progress. Actually, I think we've become the leading European player in the multi-mobility part, and our vision is to become a super app, so becoming the super app of multi-mobility. Looking forward, and I think there are some trends that are interesting to explore. Obviously, the big piece that we are all missing is public transport, and I think we will see public transport opening up to multi-mobility apps in the coming 12 to 16 and to 18 months in Europe. The other thing that is more specific to the industry, and I think it's pretty interesting, it's I think we're going to see several things. One, obviously consolidation and aggregation. I think we have not in a bad sense, but we have too many players for customers to manage. It's unmanageable to have 17 mobility apps in your phone. So I think we're going to have consolidation in the sense of mergers and acquisitions, but also aggregation. And I think the most likely scenario is that we end up with 2-3 big players that become the go-to app for anything that you need in the city. The other thing that we should see sometime soon is kind of a rationalization in spend. I think we've all seen a lot of companies doing very heavy discounting, very subsidizing the market, etc. And I think obviously there's a lot of money everywhere right now, but I think that will come down and that will rationalize. And then there's also the trend of electrification that Vicente mentioned before. And all of that, I think, will move at the pace of regulation. Regulation is going to play a major role there, and we can discuss that. And lastly, to the last bit of your question regarding differences between cities, we can expand on that later, but maybe very quickly, what we do see is strongly correlated to two things. One is the configuration of each city. Obviously, London is not the same as Valencia, or Paris is not the same as Hamburg. It really depends on where people live and work, the needs of the mobility they have. And then, as I briefly mentioned this before as well, city regulation plays a major role in the mobility offer that you have. There are some cities that are doing a great job in attracting car sharing companies and moped companies, etc. There are others that have a lot of work to do, to put it politely. So I think regulation will definitely be the lever that manages the speed of this change.
It's true that we have to do some kind of evangelization of this new regulation if we want to change the future of transportation. I wanted to go back to you, Vicente, because I was thinking, like lately, from the last years, with the boom of e-commerce, and many people like myself that we are working and we have no time. Like I don't know, I increased maybe 300% my e-commerce buying in. And with the pandemic even more, because many of the businesses have started with the digital selling, and we have this big platform. I won't say the A word, but most of us are customers. And I know that you are now leading the part of the delivery from Cabify that not many of the people know. But still, there's kind of a concern about sustainability, because now it's not myself going to the shop by feet walking to the shop. It's now that we have to use some kind of transport. And how do you lead that part so it could be reconciled with the sustainability part?
Well, in Cabify, we have been in the last mile delivery business from a little bit before the pandemic. So we are relatively newcomers to the business. But what we have seen so far are, I would say, two main things. The first one is, well, the realization of the fact that if we do want to have sustainable cities or a sustainable planet, we need to take seriously the challenge in the sustainability of good transportation, as we take the challenge in the sustainability in people transportation. At the end of the day, good transportation and people transportation are more or less equal in terms of well, congestion, emissions, and well, externalities caused to citizens. So while this is something that is normally left a little bit behind, especially during the pandemic boom, we see that there is a need to find solutions to move a little bit faster in terms of how do we bring our parcels home without killing the cities on the planet. And the other thing that we have seen is, well, you were saying that you have increased by 300% your consumption of e-commerce. We have seen in some countries in Latin America 1,000% growth during COVID. So this is exploded. This is spiraling. Demand is spiraling, especially in last mile delivery, and the offer it's getting behind. That there is quite a lack of reliable and not even to say sustainable, because sustainability has not been an issue in this industry since ever, I would say. But there is a lack of reliable partners, and there is a lack of people who can truly deliver new technological innovations for the business. Not to say that we are the only ones doing this. I mean, there are a lot of people who are bringing new ideas to the table. But what we see here is that a lot of the problems that we have in the parcel industry are shared with the ride-hailing and the micro-mobility industry, and that the technology that we have developed in terms of tracking the people, the cars, the assets that are moving, or in terms of matching well, the best drivers or the best I was going to say repartidores, but I can't find the word right now. To deliver the parcel on time in the most efficient way. Those are things that we have already solved and that we can bring to the table. And we can do it using a fleet and an operation that it's already net zero. I know that net zero is just a step in the game, and we should move forward and bring fully zero emissions fleets and operations. But I think that we are right on track to bring both our operational experience in the side of being sustainable and our technological expertise, but to be a partner of preference with business big and small, that do really want to care about their delivery process. There's a lot of business that are going out of the platforms, and they want to regain control of their own digital business and the way that they are selling to the users. They have the need to be in platform, but they want to regain that control. And I think that we are very well prepared to cater for their needs. And if we do it well, to bring a new sustainability paradigm to the table that no one it's really enforcing right now.
I think everybody's wondering if you will use drones or robots. Good question.
Well,
disclose.
I believe that drones and robots drones might be useful for the La España vacía, for the rural areas. I think that there is an opportunity to use them there, and that's something that we are exploring. It's still far away before they become a business reality. And in terms of delivery robots in the cities, I think that we are very far away. Autonomy, it's still far away from this.
Wait to see. So I want to go back to David because, I learned from David that they are part of this group in the European Union and all over the globe supporting this new technology of Hyperloop. And I know that there's like a huge bet from the European Union to be like a global mean of transportation within Europe. But I understand that even though there's this support, like political support or R&D support, there are many challenges of implementing this new technology and also like a technology for transportation of people. So can you share a little bit of your pains and gains in this way you lead it?
Of course, thank you, Marta. In terms of the opportunity, I think the first one is we are creating a massive new market. In our website, for example, you can check the Vision 2050. It is a project that explains how Hyperloop could impact in the different regions. And as an example, in Europe, we find a 50 billion euros opportunity per year connecting the different parts of Europe and avoiding a huge amount of emissions at the same time. And this is not only an opportunity for the Hyperloop promoters, but also for the partners that are collaborating with the development, as this is a big development that's too big for just 1 or 2, 3, 10 players. We need to join the rest of the industry as well. And it's also an opportunity to Europe to take the lead of this development. Europe is making this bet, and for example, we are already working in the standardization process in Europe. This is a really important part of the development. And at the same time, we are not alone. The World Economic Forum, for example, defined Hyperloop as one of the 20 technologies that can transform the economy of tomorrow. And China and United States are also developing the technology. So this is an opportunity to Europe to hold this leadership we have today, take all the experience in mass transportation, and continue developing with this leadership position. And of course, there are some challenges to overcome. For example, the technology is still being developed. We need to make sure that it's safe for passengers and cargo. We need to prove this with physical pilots. And in this tier L scale for the developments, we are in this phase that is expensive but is not ready. So this is the challenge now to put this in real conditions and be able to certify that this is safe to start building these routes. This is one of the challenges. From Celeros, we have a perspective in this case in which we have pressure that is closer to airplanes instead of space conditions. So this is something different we have, and we think that this is really important because we are making easier to certify our technology. So this is one of the differential points we have in terms of developing this technology. And the second challenge is actually how we standardize the technology, because we are different players developing, and Europe wants to bet on this, wants to support, but at the same time we need a common framework to operate, because it's a new market, it's a new technology, and to be sure that it's safe, we need some regulations to operate. So how we coordinate this process is key. We already have in Fenelec a group called JTC20 that is working specifically in Hyperloop, and actually the chairman is a Spaniard expert, a Spanish expert in the railway sector. So this is a proof also that in Spain we have this experience to also put on the table and make the right decisions for Europe. So summarizing, it's a big opportunity, a big market. It's an opportunity for Europe also to take the lead. And as a challenges, I would say the next step of the technology that is to prove in operational conditions and to find this regulatory framework to be able to implement the routes in commercial conditions in the following 10 years. That's the objective. That is the objective that we have in mind, and we are defining between the different Hyperloop promoters. So 2030 is the year we are targeting to have this technology and these regulations ready.
And I like this idea of us Spaniards entrepreneurs pushing boundaries and going above limits. So some really final thoughts. In 1 minute, we are here together inspiring the good future. So what would be your personal and professional contribution of this future of sustainability and transportation, this new means of transportation, which is the transportation that we need, inclusive, sustainable, reachable. What would be like your contribution personally and professionally to this future? Vicente?
Well, my ambition, my personal ambition would be to enter in an age where urban transportation done by a private vehicle, it's just only done in very exceptional cases. And I do believe this is going to happen. This is something that we will see eventually, but my contribution and Cabify contribution for this, it's to make this happen very, very fast. We need this to happen ASAP, and we need to bring the options to the table so we see this chance and we see the almost the end of the private vehicle in the cities in the next 5 years. So I hope we can really contribute for this, because I think that would be a very, very good scenario for all of us.
I'm sure you're going to do it. What about you, Jaime?
From a personal standpoint, I've been lucky enough to work at 2 very big European mobility companies, so BlaBlaCar and FreeNow. I think that what I would say is for FreeNow, and I think that's important, is I mentioned before that we want to become the European super app in multimobility. And I think that the European bit is very important, because if we think in terms of sustainability and inclusiveness and a lot of values, I think we have a relatively different set of values in Europe to the US or China. And I think it's important that we have big European companies leading these changes. So I think from a purely value-driven mindset, I think having these European companies is already a big, big contribution.
Big image, Europe together, not UK, I believe.
I'm happy to have them.
And what about you, David?
I totally agree, actually, with this need of having this push in Europe also to change these kind of things. And from our side, we actually have sustainability as one of the 4 values of the company. So it's one of the drivers, the motivation to work in the project for everyone, for the team. And our ambition is to create this new means of transportation, to have this new tool for the society to move in a sustainable way. And at the same time, to have in mind this intermodality we talked about at the beginning, and interoperability. First one, in terms of how Hyperloop is related with the rest of means of transportation. And the second one, to be able to connect different regions and not having different standards in each country.
So thank you very much, guys. As a user and as a citizen, I really appreciate the work the 3 of you are doing with your companies and all your teams. Thank you very much for sharing your insights today and to building this new future. And before we leave, they're going to rush us out of the stage. Can we just screw social distancing and take a selfie with the fish, the 3 of us? I don't know if I can manage the 3 of us.
There we are.
Thanks. We are. Oh, okay.
There you go. That's a better one. This is like Mrs. Meta, selfie taking selfie. Okay, perfect. I'll send them to you.
Big applause to the 3 of these great guys.
Thank you very much to Marta. Thank you to Vincent. Thank you to David, and thank you to Jaime. Okay. Whoops. I can take this off now. Okay, that was very good. Okay, so. From a company worth 1 billion, we're now going to go to a company worth 2 billion. Unfortunately, we don't have a company that's then worth 3 billion, otherwise we'd have a sequence. However, 2 billion's a lot. Anyway, so if we could, all the way from New York, we're going to have Sunny, and we also have Felipe from Job and Talent, and we also have Ben, who's a co-organizer of this, so he's always very welcome on stage. So Ben, if you could come out, please. And also Sunny and also Felipe. They're doing, as always, microphone things. Make yourself comfortable. Mi casa es tu casa, quite literally. And then socially distancing, of course. So if you can kind of stay... Okay, well, whatever you want. Okay, yeah. The microphones work and stuff like that. Okay, is your mic working?
Of course it is.
And Sunny,
good to be back.
Microphone, you can take off your mask.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, there's a voice now. There's a primetime voice. And Felipe, is your mic?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
We're all good. Thank you so much, Joe. Okay, please give them a warm welcome. They're coming, from the US, Sunny and Felipe just announced Series E. Can you please give them a warm applause, like a round of applause? Thank you so much. Really so thrilled to have you guys here today. Let's go straight into this. We're going to talk about transforming the future of work. I have two amazing guests. I would like to know a little bit about your background very shortly, as we do in these intros, and what is your take, like in 30-second max, on the future of work? Sunny, you're linked to TED, Endeavor. Kickstarter was founded in your apartment.
Yeah, in the kitchen table.
In your kitchen table.
Yes.
Tell us, what's your background and what is the future of work according to you in
Well, 10 years in media, and then 30 plus years as a recruiter with pretty much every media company that was making its move into digital, and then every technology company at some point or another. I did at least one job with them. I think that the future of work is decentralized in every sense of the word, not just in terms of blockchain, which we can talk about, but in terms of it will be about networks, it will be about community. The people who will be successful will be people who can leverage their networks and build their communities, because that's the only way you can get leverage if you don't have an organization to work with.
Thank you. Networks and community.
Probably I won't be able to say something so good, but anyway, Felipe, thank you for the invitation. I'm the co-founder of Job and Talent. We have been running the business for the last 12 years. Recently, as you mentioned, like we announced a big round. But what I think is most interesting is, like those 12 years, a story of failing, innovating, coming back, until we finally, like we build something that is working, for more than 200,000 blue-collar workers. What we're trying to do is we're trying to help those blue-collar workers to have job stability by building a jobs platform. We are present in Europe, Latin America. We are working with some of our investors, SoftBank, Atomico, Kinnevik, and still a lot of things to do. And probably I am biased, because of my experience, because we're working with a blue-collar population that is about 500 million people in the world, that they live a bit abandoned, of everything, and we believe that actually the COVID has helped a lot, to put out all those people. We thought our economy was working on robots, but it's working on delivery drivers and pickers and packers to get the things to our house and to our offices. So I think, like there's probably going to come a trend as well about rights to the workers, about how technology can be good in the sense of giving more opportunities, more stability, while giving flexibilities to the companies. So I believe this, like using technology for doing good. I think there's exciting times coming.
Thank you. One of the elements that we discussed earlier together is that you're specialized in blue collars, and part of your experience, Sunny, will be more with knowledge workers. And what's surprising, and I think we're going to cover this today, is that you see a convergence of both group of workers, and in terms of expectation and in terms of access to opportunities that maybe back a few years ago were not so obvious. Just quickly also to understand what is kind of job and talent status right now. How do you continue to grow? Like what are your, just quickly to understand, how do you continue to grow? Like you make Series E, it's to continue to expand and to grow? Is it to open new market? Is it to acquire new companies? Just quickly to understand that.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a 5 trillion market. We are doing more than 1 billion in revenue. That seems a lot, but it's nothing when you have such a big market, no? So still, there is a lot of room to grow in the existing geographies, but as well, we are just launching in the US. We have in our plans as well, rest of Latin America, Asia. So I think, being honest, we're just at the tip, like of what this can be, no? And probably labor is one of those industries where more need to change and to be disrupted, no? And as I said, for good.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question around, when you say blue collar, when you would talk about a pick and pack person as opposed to a skilled tradesperson is very different. And I think in that sense, if you have a skill that is in demand, that's going to future-proof you more than if you have a skill that's, any person could do it. And I think that looking at the knowledge worker, it's a similar scenario, which is that right now, having the skills and anybody who can be coding on any of the blockchain protocols is in extremely high demand. Same with people who are doing Ruby or what in different languages. That will change. That will change as AI makes its way into the more and more companies start using it and it becomes a service. Then that changes also with the when we think about the knowledge workers. So there's interesting having a very specific skill that's in demand, either at the moment or one that we'll always need to flush our toilets, we'll always need to have the lights go on, and so in that sense, it's quite different.
Completely. And actually, I think where technology and data helps a lot in understanding where are going to be the new jobs, the new things that are going to be required, no? And sometimes those skills, for example, in our case, we train people how to use a PDA. That it will feel basic, but that's the difference between having a job or not, because now you can work on a warehouse where it's robotized, and PDAs cannot needed, no? So the more technology that is in this space, the more data we will have, and I think that the most the data will help people to drive to, okay, where are the places, no, where I can make more money, where I can drive my career, no, both in the white and in the blue collar.
Well, it's interesting. Your platform can act as something that typically when you're in a skilled trade, they're often family businesses. So if someone gets sick, that's it. You call and no one can do it. And so but with your platform, it would allow people to have essentially what you would have in an organization, which is that you can supply an electrician, you can supply a skilled worker without having it to be a family member or without someone getting sick, and therefore the business is over.
Exactly. Some people actually think about sometimes job and talent, some of our clients, as a bit of AWS for labor, in the sense that before you used to have your own servers, you used to have your own employees, your own people, and now, like the servers are on the cloud, you get one, so it's broken, you get another one, you have a peak, so you can get a new instance. And with people can be the same, no? That the key is treat people well, give them rights, perks, benefits, but completely agree, like I think that this can help a lot of companies to actually grow much more, because typically companies are limited by either capital or people. So at the end of the day, probably capital right now is like crazy on the market, but people is becoming more and more a problem. No, we're seeing the lack of supply. 1 million vacancies not fulfilled in the UK in logistics. No, so actually, like I think it's a good opportunity. Like to become that platform.
Well, when we talk about the lack of jobs, you tend to look at from the engineering perspective.
COVID, you were bringing it up.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting challenge because we think of it in terms of lack of jobs of knowledge workers, but it's lack of jobs at every level, or lack of people for those jobs. And one of the things that we saw in COVID is because so often the entry-level sort of on-ramp jobs into the economy were taken by immigrants, and with the closing of all the borders of COVID, you really saw huge labor shortages all over in different sectors of the economy. And I think we'll see a lot more of that as time goes on. And right now we're talking about, in the STEM and the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the massive dearth of I mean, in the US alone we have something like 5 million openings or something like that. Yeah, it's just no way of filling those anywhere close.
I agree, and that increases the, like I think the effort on companies on treating workers well, because at the end of the day, how you can, like you have that number of vacancies unfulfilled as well, because you have crazy attrition, like, so actually there's some headlines, no, on the great attrition problem or whatever, no, and if companies raise their standards, like, and they start to actually invest more, help the workers more, give them more, treat them better, like, and all of that, that's also a way, no, to win that, because probably reverting the Brexit is going to be challenging right now, and let's see what happens in the US with Mexico, no?
Yeah, it's interesting because with so much of the research is being done now post-COVID from people working at home, finding out, yes, that actually levels of productivity were extremely high, like 30% higher than in most cases, and yet people don't want to work. I mean, I think I was listening to something and it was saying 93% of people don't want to work from home. They want to work not every day, but they want to work a few days a week at home. So what does the role of the office look like? What does the role of community then look like? And as I mentioned before, I think that particularly if you are an unaffiliated, a gig worker, a freelancer, the role of community becomes extremely important because that becomes your family, your base of knowledge, your way in which you can connect with the world and have a sense of purpose beyond just what you're doing day in and day out.
I know you two can talk about this together, like for hours.
You think?
I know this, yes, you can. There is something I want to ask both of you around like the trade union type of thing. Like you talk about community as what is kind of the missing block when you go freelancing. What you're doing with your platform, do you see yourself kind of, taking the space of trade unions that were there back in the days for blue-collar workers? And also I want to know from the US market that here in Europe, we look at this like, this is crazy, you don't even have holidays, right? What's going on, and if there's any evolution also that are maybe, disrupted by those new platforms, the way, people are looking at their work, their life, the city they want to live in. I'd like to hear about you, both of you. Trade unions, done, job and talent, new trade union, like that's the thing?
I mean, we're friends with them, so like somehow it's a polemic topic because at the end of the day, we don't want to replace anyone. Like we don't want to replace trade unions, staffing agencies, like recruiters. What we want to do is we want to build something new, like a new alternative on how to do things. As you said, like this platform helping the workers, building the communities. So at the end of the day, I think that we will coexist with the different players in the industry. The only thing is we believe that there is so much that all of us we can do in order to improve the conditions and the way, like the workers are managed, are treated, that I think, like, I don't see ourselves competing. It's even more additional to the efforts that happens today in the market.
Yeah, we've got a very different thing going on with trade unions in the US. And I think that there's a big effort to be unionizing in the tech industry, and part of it's because the unions are they're for-profit organizations that get paid a bounty for each new member. It feels like a 19th century tool for 21st century work challenges, but I think that one of the things that we've gotten very wrong is that if you don't work for a company, you typically don't have health insurance. Now, the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, was a way on an on-ramp onto health insurance. But you see this, so we don't have health care. If you don't have a job, you don't have health care, which is very different. So, in Spain, in the EU,
you don't have that safety net.
What's that?
We don't have that safety net.
We do not have a safety net. Not at all. Not at all. And we're dead last on a lot of things that are sort of shocking. So the challenge there, I think, is that everyone is. Many people, we're about 48% that are freelance or gig workers in the US at this point, or not affiliated with a single organization in terms of their employment.
40%, is it? 40?
I think it's close to 50, it's like 48%. It depends on who you look at, if you look at Pew or if you look at McKinsey. But I think that it's growing dramatically, and without an organization, you don't have healthcare, you don't have a safety net. So it makes it problematic. There's some form of organizing that has to happen, but it hasn't pivoted towards healthcare necessarily, because we get into that thing we're talking about it being socialist, God forbid. So it gets very political very quickly, as opposed to this is a right, and we made the choice to make healthcare privatized in the 40s, as opposed to making it a basic right that was covered by the government, unless you're over 65.
I agree, and I think there is an interesting topic as well about the gig economy, like if at the end of the day, that's helping the workers, is not helping the workers, and probably always the truth probably lies in the middle, but our view somehow is like we believe that you don't need to sacrifice the rights of the workers, like sickness, holiday pay, healthcare and things like that, in order to get flexibility, So that's where technology should play a role on companies like us, that can give flexibility to the companies while still hiring the workers on a labor contract, full-time, with all the rights, all the safety net for them, both in Europe and in Latin America. And actually the regulation more and more it's changing toward this direction, no? Like with the riders law in Spain, what is happening in Europe, what happened with Uber in the UK, no? And somehow for me it's kind of common sense. Obviously there are some gig workers that are real gig workers and that makes sense and this give them an extra income, no? But it's interesting, no? Yeah. How this is going to be shaping, no? Because 4 years ago, all of this seemed to be the Uberization of the economy, no? And now it feels that it's changing, no? On the direction.
Well, it's interesting. I think one of the questions you wanted to play with a bit was this idea about why are platforms so much easier to start in the US versus in Europe. And I think one of them is that there's so little friction to start something. And you don't have the, Walmart is one of the largest employers in the United States, in the world, and there are contract workers. They don't have to pay health care. They don't have to pay holidays. It's not really a living wage. So if you're willing to sacrifice your workers, as these organizations are, and we're driven by quarterly earnings, so there's a real, this is really a time when people are having to pay for what has taken place in the past, and yet platforms coming through, it'll be interesting to see with the different platforms how people can participate, and I have real hope for the blockchain and for this decentralization from a governance perspective.
We had like 3-4 minutes before we wrap up, and now we're just going to start dropping, like the biggest words and like the hypest thing. No, I mean, come on, let's do this. But we only had like 3 minutes to do this. There was a fascinating conversation with both of you in the area of decentralization. You see workers who are asking to get paid in Bitcoin in Latin America.
Yeah.
You work with companies like knowledge workers and people who are in the blockchain, like, are working maybe with 3, 4, 5, 6 different projects that are DAOs, decentralized autonomous organization. Please, can you educate us like in a couple of minutes and why it's so fascinating for the future of work?
Well, I think the most interesting thing is something that Felipe can talk about, and I would love to hear more about from that perspective, because that is something that could transform the global economy. I think one of the right now the governance structure is most interesting to me, which is that you move away from for-profit or even for public benefit corporations, and you move into a much more distributed ownership and proof of work, which means you get paid for your work, but there isn't really anyone in charge. So
when is it, what you're describing? I know it's already there, but when do you think that is going to be something that the people in the room will know a lot more about? And
10 years. In 10 years, we'll be feeling it a lot.
Okay.
So
in 10 years, instead of having shares in the company at the startup, you might have tokens. I
think you'll be able to buy tokens all along, as you are already now, able to buy tokens. Yeah. But I think the stuff that Felipe is talking about is really powerful, and I'd love for you to bring it on home.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the story that I was sharing with them is that 40% of our workers in the countries that we work, they tend to be immigrants. And actually, one of the things they were telling us is, hey, I need to send money back to Colombia, back to Argentina, to Venezuela, but I don't want to send euros or dollars or whatever, because then the local currency, this is going to be valued maybe 40% less the next day, no? So can you help us? Is there a way where you can value what you are sending home, because a lot of those people are working here to get money here to send home to make the living, not only for them, but for the families, no? So that's where I see real value, and we're thinking about how we get there.
And you don't have to deal with the bank, right? No centralized banking, no transaction
they don't even
costs,
have bank
no
in Mexico and Colombia.
Costs. Yeah, it's like as easy as an email, which is a whole different animal, yeah.
So, I have 1 minute. I'm going to ask you, this conversation is really fascinating. You should just go and talk to them afterwards. How can the audience talk to you? Like, what are you interested in when you're here in Valencia? Do you want to learn from something in particular? You want to meet with certain type of people? And how can they connect with you, Sunny?
Well, I'm easy to connect with on LinkedIn, Sunny Bates. and I'm not in the hotel business or the motel business, but I think I'm really interested in the ecosystems in cities and what kinds of things are going on. I met a number of people in the games development business here, and so that makes me think there's probably a creative group and wondering how that's being fed, and so I'm curious about the ecosystem here and always interested in the communities around that.
Thank you. You, Felipe, you're hiring people?
I was going, well, that was one of the big things I was going to say, but as well, you can contact me on LinkedIn, quite active over there. And obviously, you know, like this is a talent game, and we're always looking for people, you know, that at the end of the day, they want to be part of the ride. As I said, there's still a lot of things to do, and a good place with a culture that we love to share with you. But also as well, you know, like if they're entrepreneurs, people, you know, like on the last 12 years, many people helped me, you know, like just because they wanted to help. So both Juan and myself, you know, like we're part of Endeavor, we're giving back to community. We try to have a couple of days on the month to guide, to advise, you know, like people are starting their business, and you know, like more than happy to help whoever is on this race, you know, that is a marathon, and all support is always needed.
Thank you so much, Felipe. Thank you, Sunny.
Pleasure.
Real pleasure. We continue the conversation outside. Joe, this is all yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Felipe. Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, Ben. Okay, so we're getting very close to the whole pitching thing now, which is going on later, which is always, you know, a very exciting time because there's lots happening, things like that. But we have one more, I guess you could call it fireside chat, or maybe fish, what do you call those things? Fish side chat or something? You just never talk about jokes. You always work out jokes in advance in your head, just like, whatever. Fish tank talk, anyway. So if you could come out, please, Paloma, and also Sina. Okay. I was just saying, like, this isn't really a fireside chat. You know, it's more like a fish, whatever you call it, an aquarium chat.
This is fancy. I mean, I was in the Arctic one. I mean, with the penguins, it was great, but this is fancier, I have to say. Hey, hello, everyone.
Everyone loves penguins, you know, but, like, you know, it's just sharks. I always think sharks get a bad rap. I blame National Geographic Channel for that. Anyway, your microphone is working, and Sina, can you speak into your microphone?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. It's really funny. These guys work together, you know, so,
no,
like,
it's not working for him.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you need to just keep speaking into it. It's amazing.
Hello.
If you keep speaking into it, somehow they manage eventually to make it work.
Maybe it's a speaker, not a microphone.
Okay, is there like a keep? You have to. I'm afraid I have to do the keep talking.
Hello?
Okay, brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so that's kind of my bit done. So 15 minutes, enjoy yourself. Okay,
thank you
Paloma.
so much. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So first of all, thank you so much for staying, first of all. So really glad to have you here. And I'm super pleased and super honored to introduce you to Sina Amiri. He is the managing director of EMEA at Plug and Play, and he is the one behind all the expansion and all the things that we have done in the last year. So, Sina, first of all, welcome to Valencia. I know that you are part of Valencia. You are still Valencia.
Thank you.
So, Sina, in this talk that we are going to start right now, I would love to know more about how Plug and Play started, about a little bit more about how Europe is growing. So, if you could tell us a little bit the starting point of Plug and Play and how is everything going right now, we would appreciate that.
So, Plug and Play is a family business, and it started out as a family business. So my father started a few companies in his time, so he's an entrepreneur, and what he realized is the tech world is a lot more interesting than what he was doing. So he tried to get involved in technology. He luckily was in the Silicon Valley, and that's where he chose to go to college because sunny California is a fun place to go. And once he made his money with his other companies, he decided to start investing in tech. Okay. So in 1990, when he first started investing, his goal was to invest in 5 companies a year. And what he quickly realized is you need to be a greener investor, or an investor that brings more than just his money. And as a traditional entrepreneur that did real businesses and not tech, he didn't have that. So what he would do is he would share his network as a way to help the startups grow. Now, fast forward to today, he realized that if he builds an ecosystem that allows him to share his network better, that allows him to support the startups that he has better, then he can invest in more companies. So Plug and Play started in 2006. At that point, we had 300 startups under one building, and we would invest in 30 a year. Now, we're investing $30 million of our family's money in startups a year into 300 different startups. We are raising funds, so we've raised over $150 million to invest on top of those startups because we don't want to take our own business. And the ecosystem is thriving. The ecosystem in the Valley is quite important, and we all know California is where a lot of the money is, but it's not the center of the universe as much as people from the Valley want to say. It is part of the rest of the world. So what we realized is we need to go out to the rest of the world in order to find good talent. And finding good talent where they start, where they begin, allows you to find crazy entrepreneurs that have not been tainted by the real world yet. And that is our goal. So we work with corporations all around the world, over 400 of them. We have 20 offices just in EMEA alone, 15 in Europe. And we look for good technology startups in order to invest and in order to help them grow. Because we believe helping the ecosystem helps us in return.
I mean, you just mentioned two super important things, Tina. The first one is about the corporate side, the corporate innovation side, that it's something that few other like speakers here have talked about that. I would love to see your thoughts on the future of corporate innovation. If it's something that it's going to stay, not, it's a bubble. I would love to hear your knowledge and your experience through that.
So corporate innovation is what I spend most of my time on. We do invest a lot, but corporate innovation takes up most of my day. This allows me to figure out what's going on in the world in order to help our investments, as well as to help the ecosystem more. But to answer the question, corporate innovation has always been happening. In every industry, there is a different formula that allows for corporate innovation to happen. For example, in the food world, if you have a new drink, and it's a new interesting drink, at 5 million, a big player will come and invest, and at 50 million revenue, they will come and acquire.
I'm always sniffing around, seeing what's...
Hello.
Yeah, seeing
so
what's
Mike,
here.
it's open. I think the host one.
Yeah. Then in pharmaceuticals, it is very normal to buy a new drug or to buy a new chemical in order to make a new pharmaceutical drug. So corporate innovation has been happening forever. Right now, the trend of CVCs and investing in tech is booming. And it's something super interesting. Unfortunately, or fortunately, CVCs are for the next generation of CEO. Or CVCs are not for the current team, but for the team in 5 years. And as we know, corporations are growing and expanding, so it's constantly changing. Another issue is traditional VCs invest to make money. We don't care if the startup is going to help Mercedes. We don't care if the startup is going to become the next Tesla. What we want is to make money on the journey. So currently, investors are helping corporations invest, but what we need is to educate corporations to invest in their future and to think of it as an investment in the future and in the next generation of the corporation, which is something that we're learning. A traditional investor wants a startup that raises a lot of money, grows, and exits, but that's not what you need as a corporation. So that is something that has to be learned, and it's something being learned now in different industries in a different timeline. So the slowest timeline of all is the food industry and agriculture, because it's the oldest industry of all. Now, parallel to that, external innovation is something that is much cheaper than internal innovation, and bringing in R&D centers has worked for hundreds of years, But we need to make sure to keep the entrepreneur happy and growing. And this external innovation actually saves money for the corporations as well. So it'll always be here, and hopefully as plug and play, we can help make the journey from external to internal a little bit smoother.
Super interesting, the fact to highlight that traditional VC is like really messed on the money and the return that they can get, but it's important now to fix the fact that corporate innovation is key to see the future and the real future of the technology and how it's going to disrupt that technology to the world. So super interesting that fact. Sina, you just mentioned 20 locations in EMEA. That's crazy in about like 4 years. How do you see how the Europe is developing this technology? I mean, you also mentioned that the valley is there. We cannot deny that. But how do you see the future of Europe as a continent in the tech side?
So Europe as a whole is, you know, one of the leaders of the world, right? If not the leader of the world, high population, corporations that are, you know, leading the Fortune 500, and they need to work with startups. They are looking for external innovation like anyone else. So as plug and play, we believe the closer we can get to our partners, the closer we can get to these giants, the more we can help them. And if we can figure out how to translate the work we do with corporations and make it easier to work with startups for them, then we can help the entrepreneurs more. A simple example would be for one company had an NDA that was 50 pages. A startup wouldn't even read 50 pages. They don't have time, they don't have the money to hire a lawyer. So how can we help a corporation lower the amount of pages to 2? And this is a different issue in each country, because in each country we have different lawyers, so we can help with that transition. But we do believe that local ecosystems are thriving and will always grow. And if we can get closer to the ecosystems, we can help the transition more from the entrepreneurs to go to these clients of theirs.
Amazing to see that and to be just right now in this development on the country and the continent. So sorry about that. Sina, now that we have you here and you know and you treat mostly bunch of corporates around the world, I would love to hear your thoughts on what type of industry sector do you think is the most important one in this 2022, maybe the trends that you see that we have to take a highlight on. I mean, and please like write this because this is super important because Sina is in charge of bunch of corporates. So I would love to see your thoughts on that.
So every industry has different trends going on and things are changing all over. One thing that's really important, of course, is sustainability. But I'm a believer that government is what's going to force this because margins are margins and we have to follow margins. In Spain, Spain would be one of the market leaders to get rid of plastic waste. And I believe that because the tax on each ton of plastic came from the government. So being the trend to switch from non-recyclable plastic waste expensive in all grocery stores. So we have to figure out a way to be sustainable and more efficient in our food growth.
I think you're the first one that mentions that today. It's sustainability as one of the main sectors and main industries to take a look. And Spain being the one leading that. So please, corporates, take care on that. Sina, knowing your experience and your knowledge after so many years in Plug and Play, and now that we have also corporates here on this stage, I would love to hear what is kind of the current mistake or the advice that you would give to the corporates that are just starting with innovation or the ones that have already like do innovation for a while? What type of advice or mistake you would say to them to avoid in this case?
So the biggest mistake that we see is corporate tourism or not being fully ready to bring on a startup. A few of those key mistakes could be that, hey, a startup isn't perfect. 80% efficiency or 80% correctness, or so let's say something goes down on a startup, will happen quite often. We can't have Caixa have an issue constantly. So we need to change our perception of perfection in order to bring the startup from beta into a bigger corporation. Another issue is the person that is looking for startups need to have the authority to spend money on them. A startup, even though is small, even though it doesn't have revenue, needs it. And with that investment or with that customer, they're able to grow faster and become a safer trial or a safer service provider in the future.
Perfect. Tina, we have some minutes left. I'm going to ask you the first question about Plug and Play, and then we would see. The first one is about the future. How does Plug and Play look like? The future, I know that you have amazing plans in EMEA, but I would love to hear a little bit more about that, what it looks like the future of Plug and Play.
So we're growing, which is great. This year was a hard year for the world and for us as well, but we were able to open up new offices all over and hire more people and invest in startups. What the future of Plug and Play is instead of just helping these big corporations that I mentioned, is in order to help the middle level of real companies, where the real backbone of the world is, because the biggest corporations in the world don't need as much innovation. They have their own internal R&D. So our goal is to figure out a way to help everyone on their journey rather than just the giant corporations.
We have seen here really local startups from Valencia. I would love to hear your thoughts on working on local ecosystems. I mean, do you think it's feasible nowadays to work on big technologies through local spaces? COVID has made this simple, more difficult. What are your thoughts on working on local ecosystem as a startup?
So a startup is adept at jumping over hurdles. It's important to be in a place that is easy to find talent and to keep talent. So for us as Plug and Play, we have decided to grow our service office in Valencia. We currently have 60 people and we want to hire 140 more. So if you have anyone, please let us know. But what we've realized in Valencia is the talent is extremely strong, and we have found extremely good team members to join, and they're very excited to be part of this journey. It is not the same in all our other offices, and that's why we believe that this is a good option. For startups, it has to make sense for you as well. In the world today, we can Zoom call and we can travel anywhere we need in the world. So where you're headquartered is what's best for you and best for your family and for your future strategy.
Okay, Sina, so just in time, perfect timing, Sina, I have to also be honest. First of all, I have to thank you on regards of Plug and Play, but also on the Startup Association, because Sina come on purpose here to Valencia to be here on the Digital Summit, so thank you so much for being with us today. So big applause for Sina, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And with that, I think we are ready. We are going to go into the final pitching that is going to be super exciting. I think you have to stay, Sina, to just now the startups. So let's move into the final pitches. Good luck to the startups that are finalists here in the startup pitching. So if you want to start, guys, we are ready. I'm going to leave the stage. I'm going to let the experts judge.
Okay, Sina, you need to come in because we need to mic you up and do all sorts of, test you for 3G stuff and all these kind of things.
But thank you so much.
Oh yeah, thank you. You can kind of disappear. Okay, so we're kind of like, we have an awful lot to get through. We have, I'm just looking at this here, we have like 6 + 4. It's going to have 10 pitches, and it's all going to have to go really quickly. And it's all quite exciting because, let's face it, this is what entrepreneurship is often about. It's interesting to hear all these lovely talks from entrepreneurs who are successful and things like that, but nearly all of them. And if you actually look at the growth pitches, the Hyperloop are going to pitch. So it just shows you these aren't just like small sort of startups or anything like that. So once we kind of get these organized, I'm thinking the judges are coming on stage. I mean, I know you're going to have to listen, but we're going to have to get you guys up on stage first to interview you. So they're waiting patiently in the ante room, and as soon as the chairs are ready, they can come out and we'll introduce the judges to you so that you know kind of where their specialty areas are, things like that, and then we'll have the pitches. So as I say, I always find this is, maybe I'm unusual, but I always find this is the interesting part. Maybe because I was in pitch competitions myself, so that was kind of maybe what's for. Okay, so you can ask all of the judges to come out then. I think we're all set up. Okay, so if you guys are ready to come out, you can come out. We're going to have Luz, Angela, Cristobal, Jesus, Sina, and Nick. Okay, so we're going to have Cristobal, the first guy out, so you can pick, sit anywhere where you want to.
This is
okay.
for the order.
That will be fine. And Nick, you can sit anywhere where you want to. Okay, so we have also Sina, who you've just seen and heard.
Side.
Okay.
So to the very
so,
back, ladies there, guys here.
So what's happening with the other judges we're missing?
Yeah, because there's two ladies there.
They stand. Okay. They are on their way. So, but anyway, just I don't know. Is it rude to begin while we're just waiting for them to be mic'd up? I tend to say let's go with what we have on stage. So here, hello, welcome. So we have Luz and we have Angela. So I think we have everyone. Okay. So I guess what we want to do is just introduce yourselves first before we have the actual pitch competitions. It's always nice to get you guys a chance to talk about your backgrounds and talk about the kind of things you're investing in and that kind of stuff just for the audience. So, since we've heard from you most recently, we'll start at the other end. So Nick, maybe you could introduce yourself, assuming your microphone works.
Yep, yeah, I believe it does.
Yes.
So I'm here on behalf of a private investor at Business Angel, network, based here in Valencia called Big Ben. I'm on the board there. My kind of previous life was involved in politics and some startup support organizations, that kind of thing.
Okay, so I'll skip over the politics bit. What did you have? But then again, I'm curious. So tell me about the politics. Who were you involved with?
Back in my home country, various internal party positions, Senate, shadow finance, macroeconomic stuff.
Yeah, no, that kind of stuff is interesting. A lot of people who are inside baseball types think it's not interesting, but it actually is very interesting. Okay, Cristobal, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. So yeah, Cristobal Alonso. I'm the CEO of Startup Wise Guys, with the largest accelerator in Europe with close to 300 startups invested. I'm Spanish. I'm 2 times entrepreneur, Series A and bankruptcy. So 3rd time lucky. Yep. I'm basically investing in B2B in 4 verticals in very early stage, first believer in companies. Okay,
you say that so smoothly, like it's just comes out so beautifully smoothly.
You do it many times, right? I guess you get used to it. We tell our startups to pitch well, right? So we should lead with some example to do it quickly, clearly, and articulated.
Okay,
hopefully.
So I don't know which is Luz and which is Angela, so I'm not going to guess. So are you Luz or Angela?
Yeah, Luz.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so Luz, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
I'm Luz Adey, CFO and Investor Relations at Draper V1. We are a venture capital firm based in Valencia. We are early investors. We are part of the Draper Venture Network ecosystem. Actually, we have 3 funds under management. So with our last fund launched during COVID 2020, we are actively investing in seed startups, mainly B2B SaaS marketplaces and on-demand services. And we have some startups here and some exits like Jeff, Signaturit. So we are so happy to be part of this event.
Yeah, no, it's good that I was going to ask you to say your companies, investors are often very modest, certainly in public, about mentioning the companies they've invested in. In private, very often less modest, but so it's good that you mentioned your winners as well as your users. Okay, welcome, Luz. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, Angela, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Angela Alferez. I came from ASCRI, that is the Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. And, well, I'm in charge of the Venture Capital Committee and, and all the studies and public affairs. So
So, and are you excited about the new startup law, or, you know, I know Ascri have been like pitching like crazy for that. Are you excited about it?
Sorry?
Are you excited about the new, actually I can take off this.
Yes.
You're not so modest as like, Joe, why are you wearing your, it's been a long day, so I never know what I'm doing. I was saying, are you excited about the new startup law?
Yes, of course. Well, we have been working in the startup ecosystem from 2003 or 2004, so we are very happy about how it's growing and all the development of this year, so yes.
Okay, and then finally, we've just heard from you, but there may be people who've come in late, so you have to do, I'm going to have to ask you to once again to introduce yourself.
So my name is, hello? Yeah, there it is.
It gets there eventually, yeah.
So my name is Sina Amidi. I'm the co-head of the EMEA region of Plug and Play. We're an accelerator that invests in 300 companies a year. We have 21 unicorns now in our portfolio and over 1,600 portfolio companies.
Okay, fantastic. Again, very, very, very smooth. Okay, and just before we start the pitching is going to be done from between you guys, so it's a sort of almost like a Roman kind of amphitheater thing. Nick, you didn't sort of mention like what particular sectors are you interested in? I mean, or maybe it's unfair to categorize yourself, but are you interested in energy or tech or med or something?
And the members have diverse interests, but we cultivate the deal flow. We provide support for Nobel investors, mature investors, co-investment products. But the organization isn't focused on any one sector.
Yeah, you're sector agnostic and all of that. Okay, and I guess Cristobal, anything in particular that you're particularly excited by?
I'm very excited about many things.
Yes.
We invest in cybersecurity, fintech now mostly emerging markets, B2B SaaS, going more and more into subverticals like VR, AR, and sustainability, mostly food tech, farm tech, forest tech, and the usage of land, overall agri-tech. So trying to specialize in sustainability, we call it for farm to fork to stomach.
Yeah, and there's lots of forests in Latvia, yeah? Isn't there?
Yeah, 1/4 of the country. Half the size of Belgium is just forest.
Yeah, lifetime reading The Economist is never wasted. Yeah. Okay, so Luf, what kind of sectors are you particularly interested in?
We are very diverse, so we are industry agnostic, but we have certain specialization, or we are passionate about blockchain or AI, so we are very industry agnostic.
I can guarantee almost every company every pitch will mention AI and blockchain. It seems to be like a very common feature. Okay, and I guess Ascri, you have to say you're sector agnostic, right? Because your members wouldn't like it any other way.
Yes.
So, but is there anything that you as an individual are excited about? Is there anything perhaps that Spain has more potential in that isn't being fully realized?
Well, for me. All related with environment impact is a sector that for me it's interesting.
Okay, and I heard Sina saying earlier on, you're just about the money. You don't care about anything else, which I thought was very kind of honest. But that's beautiful. Okay, thank you very much for the introductions. So I think we're ready to go now. If we could have the first person out here, which is Robert. Okay, so, unless I have... oh, this is you, Robert. Okay. Okay, so you stand in the middle of the stage and you have 3 minutes as soon as you see... There is a presentation, right?
I hope there's a presentation,
yeah.
Let's see. And I hope there's also a clicker.
I know, well, I hope there's a presentation more than you hope there's a presentation. So anyway, between the two of us, because, okay, here we go. Does that look familiar?
It looks like something I have seen before.
Okay, so you got 3 minutes. Everyone, big round of applause, encouragement for Robert!
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Heinecke. I'm the founder and CEO of Breeze Technologies. We are a German deep tech company and leader in air quality sensors, data, and cleaner action intelligence. Air pollution is the greatest environmental health threat of our time. 9 out of 10 people globally are living in areas with too high levels of air pollution. and still we don't know enough how to fight it. This is because, on the left side you see, current measurement technology is mainly based on technologies from the 60s and 70s. We have those big, bulky monitoring stations sitting on our roadsides, and it just doesn't make sense. This is why we have developed our own lower-cost air quality sensors by moving all the complexity from the hardware, from the sensors, into the cloud, into software. And that way we managed to make the sensors 1,000 times cheaper and 50,000 times smaller. And I'm going to say that again, 1,000 times cheaper and 50,000 times smaller. And that way, for the very first time, we can provide ubiquitous air quality data from the whole built environment. Talking about Breeze Technologies, we're a team of 16 people based in Hamburg, Germany. We already have customers in 11 countries, mostly Europe, but also growing presence in the US and in Japan. We are cash positive since 2018, and we are collaborating with a growing number of channel partners such as Microsoft, NTT, and SAP. We have three things in our product portfolio: air quality sensors and data, which we provide to our customers. Based on this data, we provide automated intelligence and insights, what's actually going on in the air quality with our customers. And based on that, we tell them how to improve air quality, based on a catalog of more than 3,500 cleaner actions we have sourced globally. We do that in three different verticals: indoor air quality, improving air quality at the workplace, inside of buildings; urban air quality, our largest vertical, working with smart cities; and also industrial emissions, working with industry companies, production companies, to mitigate the environmental impact of industry plants. Here you see a couple of our customers, which include governmental entities such as the US Department of Homeland Security and the European Commission, but also cities like Bielefeld in Germany, and tech companies such as Google and Microsoft. Just talking about a couple of the projects we've been doing in the past, together with Microsoft, we actually built the densest air quality monitoring network in the world in the city of Hamburg, learning what influence local traffic flows have on hyperlocal air quality. For a small city, the city of Neckarsulm in Germany, we helped them for the first time to build up their own air quality monitoring network. And for a German DAX company, a chemical leader, we helped them to monitor and improve their environmental impact around their production facilities in Germany. More than 13,000 locations already worldwide on our platform. I'm very much looking forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Magnificent. So the nature of this is that we only have 2 minutes for questions, so there's really only time for one question. So which of the jury would like to jump in with a question? Cristobal?
No, there was 2 questions.
Well, you got one. Okay, go ahead.
Revenues and customers.
Sorry?
Revenues and customers. You talk about number of cities, but what are your revenues today and what's the growth projection?
Right. We have around 75 customers at the moment. Most of them are public entities. And we are doing annual sales 7 figures in euros. So in the millions.
7 figures. Luke, did you have a question as well?
How do you make money? And you started with, you are the leading provider. So can you tell us a little bit more about your competitors?
Yes. So we make money by, first of all, providing subscription service. So the sensors bundled together with our intelligence cloud, we provide that based on an annual subscription that our customers pay for. And on top of that, I mentioned we tell them what to do to improve air quality. And for that, we actually have certified partners that can implement these cleaner actions that we recommend. And we're trying to build a marketplace of cleaner actions around that. So this is an additional revenue source for us. In the future, we actually want to build up also a marketplace for air quality data itself, also working with other startups that are monitoring air quality. And what makes us actually unique is that we're not only measuring and not only providing the sensors and some nice charts to our customers, but that we actually help them to improve the situation. This is something that so far only large engineering offices like TÜV have been doing, but startups are just focusing on the monitoring part usually.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're out of time. Thank you very much, Robert.
Thank you.
Best of luck in the rest of the competition. Now your part is over. You have to go. That's the way of the world. Okay. We only have 2 minutes for questions. All the fun takes place afterwards in the chats in the bar. We were also joined by, are you going to be a jury member, Juan, or are you just, you're a jury member as well? Okay. Just could you introduce yourself, please, for the people who didn't see you earlier on, I think when you spoke at the stage, just if you could just tell people,
yes,
introduce yourself. Okay, is there a microphone kind of working? Okay.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Hello, my name is Juan Luis Hortelano. I am the president of Startup Valencia, myself an entrepreneur. Before being an entrepreneur, I have been working as the manager, director of Plug and Play here in Spain with Sina and all his team. And yeah, since 1999, working around internet, different projects, and also used to see a lot of pitches and try to find the best startups everywhere. So
okay,
happy to be here with you.
That's all we want. Okay, thank you very much, Juan. Also the president of Startup Valencia. Okay, so we've got Jonathan up. You're the next person, please, Jonathan. Okay, we'll wait for the round of applause until you're up and ready to go. Build the tension. So he gets the clicker and he gets the microphone.
So I'm very happy to be here. Finally, after 5 years entrepreneuring, doing a Shark Tank. So thank you very much, Startup.
Okay, we just have to wait for your presentation to appear on the screen, which is always the bit. I thought you were going to be one of these kind of entrepreneurs that just like pushes everyone out of the way and sort of says,
Shark Tank, but
yeah.
here I didn't have
Okay, fantastic. Okay, away you go, Jonathan. Best of luck.
Okay, thank you very much. So, hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Amenedo. I'm the CEO and founder of Royward. There is an amazing fact, is that the global gift card business is the only multi-billion-dollar in the world that is still managed with CSVs, and is worth $615 billion. And the next amazing thing is that 30% of it is a complete waste. Are vouchers that are sent to the customers and are left on the emails. It's operatively really expensive to do because it's a really manual integrations, and it's a really complex processes to integrate many different vendors. So, however, the rewards are everywhere. Any industry that you could think of is using it right now. Finance, crypto, telecom, auto, in loyalty programs, customer payments, acquisitions, and the applications are endless. So what we have made a simple to use digital platform, digital reward platform, where we solve everything of this. So there is not lost budget. We just buy the vouchers that customers request. There is not manual integrations because everything is just with a simple API with 4 lines of code. We have best prices because no one has to integrate everything. And there is no need to negotiate with hundreds of vendors. And it's so easy like this. It's just 4 lines of code, and you send vouchers. But with the same 4 lines of code, you can send physical products with an unlimited catalog that are Alibaba or Amazon. Or you can reward your customers just with those 4 lines of code, any travel to anywhere in the world or very close to you. So before technology, everything was one by one made process that was handled really difficultly. The companies need to spend at one time, for example, €1 million, pay it, they got the codes in a CSV file, this is crazy, and they start sending it. If the customers don't use it, they lose the money. With the technology, it's very easy. They just give us the money that we start paying the vouchers when the customers request it. So there is not waste. On average, to our customers, we save them 30% of the budget. Over a 1 million on average marketing campaign, that is not a big one, it's a huge amount of money. How do we make money? Very easy. We get a SaaS fee to connect to our platform, we get a commission on the vouchers that we send, and we have a revenue share on the money that we get back from the waste. There is a huge competition because it's a huge market. But the market started to implement the technology a couple of years ago, just in some countries, and the legacy customers, the legacy people, is not there yet. We are a winning team because we have been doing this in many different places for the last 12 years. And we have a winning team that has been selling these kind of services in the last years. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. And there's a round of applause. The best round of applauses are the ones that people give you without having to be asked for. So those are the ones that are genuine. Okay, before Cristobal asks for revenues and customers, is there any other judge that wants to ask a question first? That would be Nick, yes.
Hi, Jonathan. Thank you for the pitch. It was somewhat unclear to me whether you're aggregating vouchers that companies already create, if you're trying to replace kind of the spam type purchase push.
Super easy. We have a digital marketplace of more than 1,200 vouchers of gift cards all around the globe. So anyone that wants to make a marketing campaign, they go to us and they can buy from us Amazon, IKEA, Last Minute, Nike, Amazon, or PlayStation. So we are an aggregator of this huge business. And not only vouchers, but as well with physical products without a warehouse.
Right, so sorry, so you've got your coupon shopper who actively searches for deals, but it felt like part of your pitch was you're trying to replace companies sending out kind of mass vouchers. Do you feel this product will replace it? It was unclear what you're trying to...
Yeah, I can clarify this. So let's imagine that you are an energy company, that you are doing a member-get-member campaign, and you are spending each customer that comes, you give them €100 in an Amazon voucher. We provide that Amazon voucher, but with the difference that if the customer doesn't use it, doesn't request it, we don't buy it. So we buy in real time. So we save the money to the energy company in that budget.
Got it. So it's not discounts for the energy company, it's just a third-party gift that they're giving
Exactly.
out. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay. That was the bit that I wasn't...
Okay, super.
Yeah. By the way, I love those. I think those are the best interactions. You actually very often learn much more about a company from the Q&A afterwards than you do from the presentation. So I'd encourage all of the judges to, that kind of over and back really helps the entrepreneur explain what they're doing. Then the revenue and customers question, Jonathan. Is there anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, this year that we made the pivot, we are doing 300,000 around euros, but next year is the one that we are going to be committed with a bigger budget. Just for Italy, we are negotiating our €2 million voucher deal. We're working in Albania. We are going to be working in Canada. We're in Colombia. So with the technology, we can make payments everywhere in the world.
Okay, why Albania?
Because there are customers that are spending 100,000 euros in vouchers that they were not available to buy. It was really cost effective for them. They didn't have the network to reach to the providers, and with the same API that they have integrated in Spain, they can send vouchers in Albania.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. Big round of applause, please, for Jonathan. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, right. Okay, so up comes Dragana. Joanne isn't coming, so just pardon. No, we're just skipping. We are going to skip Joanne from Decoditive. Oh, he just arrived. Okay, here we go. So right. Sorry, Dragana. Well, look, we're going to go ahead with Dragana. She's on the stage, so let's go. So if we could put up Dragana's Fauna Smart Technologies presentation, please. And then after that, we'll go back to Joanne, who I'm really glad is here. Okay, Dragana, you have 3 minutes. Best of luck.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Dragana, and I'm a founder and CEO of Fauna Smart Technologies. It's a startup based in Copenhagen, Denmark, and we are dedicated to leverage life sciences, real-time in-field, using diverse technologies. The core of Fauna Smart Technologies is actually life sciences, and we are creating systems that are in line with nature, which is actually in line with this regenerative approach. So, do you know which industry is the biggest one in the world? And the oldest one as well. It's agriculture. It employs 1.5 billion people. 1 out of 5 people is a farmer. 80% of the food we eat is grown by the farmers. And also, it is the largest industry that is ready to be disrupted. And the EU is leading this disruption, and the whole world is watching it. Basically, the EU regulations and directives are banning chemical pesticides, and this is affecting over 10.5 million farmers across Europe, since now they're transitioning from chemical pesticides to biopesticides. But biopesticides operate differently than chemical pesticides, and farmers are lacking knowledge about this, just like with everything new. With biopesticides comes uncertainty, because they're also based on live organisms. So you can't say to a live organism, go there and work now. So it comes with delayed efficiency, which is risky for crop protection. In 3 to 4 days, it's delayed efficiency. And also they come, on average, with 5 times higher price. Farmers need help. Today, they overspray and they overpay. And they are still failing to protect their crops successfully, since 40% of the yield is lost yearly due to insect pests and diseases. Today, there is no way for farmers to transition to new growing conditions in time and cost-efficient manner. And this is where we step in. Science about plant immunity has matured in recent years. What we want to leverage is this knowledge using real-time tool that we call pregnancy test for plants, or you can also say COVID test for plants. Because if immunity is active, plants are capable to defend themselves. They can suppress disease. And if immunity is not active, then we also want to inform the farmer that action is required. Then we source the knowledge on what to do next to guide the farmer throughout the growing season, because we are not only AgTech, but we are also solution providers. So on what to do next, when to spray, what to spray, and how much to spray. What farmers need to do is to collect the leaves from the field, measure the leaves, apply the liquid from the leaves on the test area, scan the response area, and then they will get this information. They will get also 60 to 120% higher revenue based on green product sales, and also reduced input due to good time management. And everything comes with environmental benefits. We are an accomplished team from academia and industry. We are all seniors, and we build products based on long-term academic research, because in this way we can fix problems on a long run and provide impact with depth and scale. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so farmers overpay and overspray. Questions for Dragana, please. Who has questions? Yes, go ahead.
In a field that is, thousands of acres, what region do I have to check for immunity, and how granular do I have to get?
Okay, that's a good question. We start actually with greenhouses and tomatoes, but then of course we want to scale it to open field systems. But in that case, then satellites will help us where to map, where the risk areas are. And that's actually another project that we have with Parsec and European Space Agency. Yes. So it's a really complex system innovation that we want to make simple to understand and easy to use. Yeah.
Okay, satellites.
What's the product status?
What?
What is the product status? Have you deployed it already? Is it being used already?
So we have actually, so we are still in R&D phase, and we have actually pilots with actually Danish and also Serbian farmers, and now also we will go to Slovenia. Yeah.
So when are you going to be ready for production?
8 to 12 months.
How do you estimate the 60 to 120% revenue increase then?
How?
You said you are going to increase revenue 60 to 120%.
Yeah,
Is
for
that
the
real
farmers.
estimation?
So basically, right now what we do is ELISA tests, a conventional lab. So everything we do is right now in a conventional lab, and then we also created a lab on paper technology. And then now what we need to do is to basically marry science and technology, those protocols for lab on paper. So yes, this has been tested in a field using ELISA conventional lab.
Okay, any other questions? Lisa, Angela, one? Yes, go ahead.
2 questions in one. Do you have any patents?
We will have patents with this.
You will
yes.
have patents. And what's the business model? I mean, you will charge for the test, you will charge for service.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's a B2B, and yes, it's going to be basically buying those sticks. It's going to be like 4 of those pregnancy tests in one, basically for 0.5 hectares.
Okay, thank you.
How often do you need to use it?
Yeah, it depends on the crop. But for example, also it's basically before the flowering season, you need 6 times, and then after flowering season also like depends on actually presence of pests and diseases, and also like 6 to 8 times. This is actually how we actually think that real-time test will work.
Or any time the plants have unprotected sex, they'll probably need a pregnancy test. But yeah, either one. Okay, very good. Okay, thank you very much, Dragon. A big round of applause. Okay, thank you. That's it. You can walk off. Okay, so Juan, who so dramatically came down the steps, like in the manner of the graduate or something like that, is here and with us and is going to pitch. So we just need to get his presentation out of the deleted folder and get it back onto the screen, and then we're going to have Juan. So, who's the name of the company? He's the CEO of Decoditive. Decoditive. I wonder, am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, thank
okay.
you.
Okay, there you go.
Because,
Listen, I have very low expectations for my pronunciations. Okay, so once we can get your presentation, we'll be ready to go. Okay. Do you want to tell us why you were late? I was very, like a professor now. Why were you late? Why were you late? Come on, why were you late?
I mean, I was just in.
Yeah. You say you were talking to an investor or something like that. I was just on the phone with an investor, and
was in the third
line,
so,
I'm not signing a liquidation preference, and that kind of stuff was going on. Okay, I'm just filling time while we're waiting for your presentation.
Yeah, but the presentation is already here. Yeah, it looks, it's this. Yeah, okay, so.
As I talk, like it encourages the technicians to do it faster because they want to shut me up. You see, it's all that kind of a rhythm. But you have a presentation,
I mean, it's this, so this is the first slide. Yeah.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, so, I mean.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's amazing. God, I feel so stupid. But anyway, I never worried you about that in the past, so I won't worry about that.
Problem.
Okay, so sorry for wasting 2 minutes of your life.
I have 3 minutes.
Okay, no, they'll put it back. Okay. Juan, away you go.
Okay, all right. So could you please look at this image? Okay. Wait a second. We are analyzing that. And all right, we already have the results. So it looks like more than 50% of you have been looking at the main message of the website, which is great, but only 2% of the focus was in the Get Tickets button, which is also quite important item on the website, right? Good afternoon, my name is Joan, and I'm the founder and CEO at Decoditive. That was neuromarketing, and that's the industry that we are going to revolutionize. Did you know that the vast majority of marketers fail to use behavioral data when they are planning and conducting a marketing campaign? The data that they are getting is too superficial, that they don't really know what their customers need, what's on their customers' mind. As a consequence, 26% of all budgets, of all marketing budgets, and more than $100 billion are wasted every year. At Decoditive, we've created a tool that uses eye tracking and facial coding and provides companies with a very deep information about their customers in a very fast and affordable way. It's really easy to conduct, and it allows companies to minimize risk before spending a lot of money on any marketing action and also optimize success, since we are helping them to really understand what their customers need. We are locating ourselves between the typical traditional market research companies and digital marketing agencies, which provide with a quite vague and also superficial information, and the typical neuromarketing labs, which provide with a very sophisticated information, but they are very expensive, too slow in delivering the results, and they are also very difficult to conduct. Why now? Okay, so basically the market is so big, the market is so unexplored that it offers many opportunities, and it's also really fast growing. Our business model is a B2B SaaS, although we started now by offering it in a pay-per-use mode, because in this way we can start learning from our first clients, work very close with them in order to know what features the SaaS should have. This is our team. We have a great expertise on all areas. And we also have our investors, Future Capital, who already invested in us twice. These are some of our clients, mostly corporates from LATAM and US. And that's our roadmap. We raised a seed round in February this year. We launched Decoditive in April, and we had traction from the very beginning. we've been keeping for 8 months a 50% growth in revenue month over month, and we'll start raising a Series A most probably in 9 months, which will allow us to scale faster. So thank you so much. That was the Coditive, and I'll be looking forward to listening your questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Joan. Okay, so the magic number has been reset. Questions, please, for Juan. Do I see, Luke, did I see your hand? Questions, please, for Juan. Nick, campaigning stuff, come on. This must be right up your alley.
If no one has one, I have one.
Yeah, sure.
I guess it's more a concern. So basically, people are allowing you to track their eyes through their laptop and phone's cameras?
Yeah,
Is
that's
the reason you've started in LATAM and US because they don't have GDPR protection?
No, not really, and that's a good question. So basically, it's not like, okay, you are browsing through a website and then the camera shows up and it starts analyzing you, but we are doing it in a controlled environment, you know. So you're a company, you want to test your TV ad, your marketing campaign, and then you hire us. We pick a group of people and then we show them the materials.
It's kind of an offline testing focus group.
Yeah, it's like a focus group. That's right.
That wasn't clear from
Yeah.
Who is your customer?
Our customers are mostly big marketing departments from big companies, because we can save them a lot of money.
Can you define big companies?
Sorry?
Can you define big companies?
Yeah, so mostly corporates. It's mostly all kind of corporates which are investing a lot of money in marketing actions.
So how long is your sales cycle?
Our sales cycle, okay, so now we are doing it in a pay-per-use mode, but mostly we are signing contracts for 1-2 years, and we are starting like that.
How long it takes you to sign that contract?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So it's like a couple of months, something like that.
What about revenue? You said you have your first sales and 50% growth.
So basically, we launched this in April. We had the first revenue in May, so quite at the very beginning. We started having 400 euros in May, and now we are going to close December with 8,000, which is good. So yeah, that's it in terms of numbers. Yeah.
Okay. All money is good. Okay, Juan, we're out of time. Thank you very much for your presentation, and best of luck with everything. Okay, so Jose is up next. So Jose, is he going to appear? Okay, here he comes. Barreiro, which is, I know loads of people with that surname, so that's great. Okay, so try not to mess up the whole PowerPoint thing this time, Joe. Note to self, okay. So did you take a picture of the front page of the Valencia? No, you didn't. You went with the standard.
No, mine is more
you went with
common.
You went with the standard blue and white.
Yeah, that's
okay,
my new logo. So.
Fantastic. Okay, that's very brilliant. Okay, away you go. Best of luck.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Jose. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Streamion. Do you know that young people don't watch live TV anymore? Generation Z, just 33% of those people watch live TV, and 75% watch content on social media or other digital platforms. So Streamion is an ad tech platform for live streamings, and our objective is to re-engage with the brands and the people and their targets. We work as a link between the media agencies and the video live streaming channels. The media agencies and their brands provide the ads. We put it in a segmentation, and we automatically provide that ad to the channels, and those channels, streamers, monetize. So we are talking about platforms like Twitch that are growing more than 50% every single year. But our technology works in any other live streaming platform. This is a real ad for one of our streamers. The streamer are just playing video games or doing its broadcast normally. And our ads just shows, and it doesn't interrupt the emission, it doesn't cut the emission, and that's why it's so convenient for those channels and for our brands. We have a 100% completion rate. That's something that the brands really value. Of course, we have a lot of competitors, but in our case, we have something that is the artificial intelligence that is able to analyze if all the single ad is shown correctly or not. If not, it's discarded, and that's what makes our platform really powerful in these terms. So we are working with big brands in the Spanish market, with young audience, that kind of audience that is hard to reach. And we get this because we make agreements with, right now in Spain, with 4 out of 6 biggest agencies in the country. That's why we can reach those brands. We are talking about a really huge market. Those 4 billions are just for Spanish market. We are 4 at the beginning, and now 5 co-founders, and our team is still growing. It's the core value of our team, it's the core value of our growing. And our milestones is like we are closing this year, is our 2nd year with revenue, and we are closing in $500,000. And then the next steps is to complete the agency dashboard. We are opening, or we are in a fundraising right now. We are looking for 1.5 million, and we want to internationalize to at least 5 markets in Europe and maybe other one overseas, and to complete the automation of the platform. So this is Streamion, the next generation of digital advertising. Thank you very much.
Hey, very good, Jose. Okay, I think that was the first mention of AI. We didn't have any mentions of blockchain yet.
Yeah, yeah, I have to say.
It was
AI,
the first mention
of
of AI. It's with terms and
go.
conditions. Yeah, it's always mention blockchain somewhere. Okay, questions. Who has questions? Questions. Yes.
Just to get a better understanding, you're able to put an ad on someone who is streaming on YouTube.
For example, yeah.
And
we are working on Twitch right now, but we can do it the same in YouTube or any other platform, streaming platform.
And you need Twitch's approval to do it?
No, because we work just directly with the streamer. The ad goes local to the streamer broadcasting system, and it's the same kind of, the same signal, the same
And do you foresee
emission.
someone who makes all of their money on advertising saying no to you advertising, ignoring them?
It's a sponsorship, so it's actually the same as one brand talks with me, and I have a channel, and I do some advertising, so it's the same, but automatized with hundreds of channels at the same time and validated with an artificial intelligence.
There it goes again.
Here we
okay, fantastic. Any other questions? Yes, Christopher?
What are the click-through rates? So what is the efficiency of your advertising when you actually do streaming? So have you compared this with any other methods?
Can you repeat that?
What is the click-through rate? So how many people are viewing those ads? How many people are clicking on those ads? So what is the efficiency of this advertising?
In terms of branding, not performance, is really, really good because we connect to the API of the streaming platform. We see all the metrics, and we get really, really good figures. We are talking about branding, and we are talking about an ad you can block with an ad blocker. It's shown directly in the emission all the time, and people is watching at it all the time. So because it's not bothering the emission, people usually, the sentiment of the people is usually better and positive, and that's why brands are still like trying with us, and every single brand that tried with us is pretty happy with that.
Sorry, let me actually build on that
Yep.
question. You're actually embedding the ad within the video feed. So is the ad clickable?
No, but we have a solution for that.
So the click-through rate is?
Can I answer? It's like in the chat at the right, you can click on it.
So how many people are clicking there?
Not many.
Okay.
Not many.
Thank you.
It's branding, not performance, but okay.
You said you're going global. Where do you go next? Just one country. Where are you going next?
Next market is going to be Germany.
Denmark?
Germany.
Germany.
Okay. Juan Luis has a question.
One last question. So your customer is the agency, but you are working with the streamers. They get paid by you or by the agency?
Yeah, we pay the streamers.
So
the agency pays us.
You get a cut from the agency, and you pay the streamers?
Yeah, the agency who owns all the brands, have all the brands, the big brands. The big brands in Spain works through an agency. They pay us, and we pay the streamers. And
How
we
much
get
percentage do you get from?
Well, I wouldn't like to say exactly the numbers, but our margin is pretty high. We have a pretty high margin, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Last question, what streamers don't we know about that we should know about? Give me the 5 names of 5 really cool streamers that apart from eBay, who's probably
in our platform?
In general, what streamers do you look at?
I love eBay, everybody knows that guy because...
yeah, but that's the only one anyone's ever heard of. Like,
no, but we got Rudiger, we have Suha, we have Feedrock. We have several, but it's like we have hundreds and it's medium sized. They are not really famous. So it's actually our model and it's working well.
Okay, fantastic. Right, we're out of time. Thank you very much. Okay, big round of applause, please, for Jose. So the final, why am I putting on an accent? The final of the startup pitches is Carlos Albo, who is going to come up and join us. You'll meet a nice man at the top of the stairs who'll give you a microphone and a clicker. And then we're going to put up your screen, put up your PowerPoint, and then you'll begin. It's a great advantage to go number 6. You know?
Really?
Yeah, I just made that up.
Let's
but
try
anyway.
to make it work.
I made that up to encourage your, make you feel as if you have an advantage. Okay, we have your presentation and we have your time. So, hit us between the eyes, Carlos.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm Carlos Albo, I'm CEO of Winalize. And you know that small and medium enterprises is the base of all economy of any country in the world. And I'm going to tell you one thing. Banks and insurance company, financial corporation, they don't know what is happening in 2 out of 3 of these small and medium enterprises. No problem. And only in Europe, that means almost 16 millions of companies. And the solution is the truth. And the truth is out there. Winalize gather hundreds of open data sources, apply proprietary technology. We have been already talking about artificial intelligence, but yes, we are using it, and big data. And we deliver this insight in real time to banks and insurance companies. To do what? To know the whole picture of the small and medium enterprises, to improve automation in processes, optimization regarding data, loss ratio improvement, and also to know what are the clients' needs regarding insurance and financials. Why Winalize and why now? Because the market is huge, because the SMEs is a pillar of the corporation as a new clients, because we cannot rely in the traditional source of information that we have had before the pandemic, and also because we have very good advantages, and also we have been proved with the most important actors in the insurance sector. The market is huge, but we are focused in service obtainable market that just in Europe is 1.2 billion euros. We have been already working in 2 continents with the most important players in the financial industry because our 3 main advantages like aggregation computing, proprietary artificial intelligence, and flexible architecture. That marks a clear roadmap. We, in 18 and 19, we have been building the platform and a market fit, and then 2021, we have been starting work with these players. 2022 is to consolidate our presence in Europe, and 2023 to jump to the United States. Our team is very experienced and has been working in very important companies, and is a very committed team. And today is not just. During this year, I would like to say thank you to GoHub, because with them we have jumped from, we have been growing more than 4 times than comparatively with the beginning of the year. And now we want to announce also that we want to make one step forward and to start using sustainable environmental information for insurance and banking to evaluate better the small and medium enterprises and then make a better planet, a better economy, and a better society. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good, Carlos, and perfectly good on time. Okay, questions about all the fun. Cristobal, go ahead.
What is your business model?
Sorry, yes. Software as a service, or let's say analytics as a service, is based on the amount of data that the corporation is asking to analyze.
So how many queries are you regularly?
Yeah, calls to the API, for example.
So how many queries per month are you getting right now, approximately?
For example, we are doing like 600,000 queries per month.
Okay, Christopher's writing that one down. He'll remember later. Okay, any questions? Luth, Nick, Jose, anything coming? Okay, so what's it like to sell to banks and insurance companies? That must be like loads of fun.
Well, it's
Killer
not.
question.
Well, it's not easy.
It's terrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You can
but
say it out loud.
But I have to say that they have this needed information. They have realized of it, and we have developed during the last 12 months a very efficient go-to-market strategy. So we are able to start working with them in just 3 months.
Yeah, but the thing is, you go to banks and insurance companies, and I've done it many, and you talk about like all of Revolut and all these amazing innovative banks, and then they wonder, and then someone comes to them and say, you need to be doing things like this, and they sort of look at you kind of blankly or blankly, like so, is it? I mean, it must be. Do you all the time go to the older banks, or have you gone to any of the neobanks? I mean, what's your relationship like with them?
Well, we are working with any kind of corporation. For example, we are working with traditional banks and also neobanks. And in the insurance sector, we are working for the, let's say, bigger institution in the insurance sector that are reinsurance companies, but also we are working with MGAs and brokers online.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, Nick, is there the question? Yes.
Yeah, just speaking about reinsurance. These are companies that are staffed with large departments of actuaries. How is your analysis, and they also have lots of capital to spend on efficiency and underwriting. What does your analysis provide that their internal actuarial departments don't have or don't get?
Yeah, there is like 2 classes of improvement or added value that we can give them. First of all is that they are based in their analysis in the data that has been is in the past, because they are using this information when the policy has been sold. But this policy is renewed year by year without updating this information, because it's so costly to to get this information. So we are able, first, to give them, before the renewal, fresh and updated information about the risk, so they can update all the portfolio. And secondly, we can add them new variables that allow to them to reduce or to better the models that they are working with. For example, we have reduced loss ratio in 3%. That maybe seems just a few, but in a medium-sized company in Spain, that means savings of 3 million euros per year, just 3%. Just adding variables regarding, for example, online presence of these companies.
Okay, is that a good answer, Nick? Does that surprise you? They can give you variables that the actuaries weren't working with?
I'm not familiar with the mid-sized reinsurance sector in Spain, so I'm not sure where that fits in with these reinsurance clients. There's a bit of a disconnect for me. I mean, I know Lloyd's in Bermuda and Singapore, but I'm not familiar with the Spanish reinsurance market.
Well, I have to say that Lloyd's, for example, is not a traditional insurance company. It's a syndicate of brokers to, let's say, allow risk. So it's a different matter if you are dealing with an insurance company that if you are dealing with Joyce, for example, as a market.
I'm getting that, like, there's
and
like
with a reinsurance company.
thing, the message that I'm getting. Okay, the last thing I want to do is start talking about reinsurance, the difference between Lloyd's of London. Okay, so anyway, apologies for that. Okay, thank you very much, Carlos. Big round of applause, please, for Carlos. Okay.
price. Corporate commuting solutions are essential to attract and retain talent. We know that because before the pandemics, at least 23% of US employees stated that they have quit a job due to a bad commute. And this figure raised up to 34% on those employees aged between 18 and 34. We also know that 60% of them stated or complained that their companies were not providing any solutions for this bad commute. We also know that the best solution for both the employee and the employer are corporate commuting shuttles. More convenient for the employee because they're door-to-door services and it's more comfortable, of course, and for the employer because they are more efficient, both in terms of cost and environmental sustainability. So why they are not implementing their solutions all over the world, all these companies? Because this is a very traditional sector with plenty of inefficiencies. The first reason would be is that there is a lack of critical mass. I'll give you an example. Google in Silicon Valley has 45,000 employees. They have 300 buses. But even Google, outside of Silicon Valley, has problems, struggles with critical mass. But even if you have critical mass, you probably lack technology because bus operating companies are traditional companies. They don't have no technology, and HR departments can't control what's happening in their routes. But even if you don't have technology, you probably won't want to manage all these services, customer care for passengers 24/7, managing one or several bus operating companies, and all of the drivers. It's a mess that you don't want to mess. So at BuzzUp, we solved all these barriers by building a solution that offers fully digitalized services, which means an end-to-end platform that connects the user, the company, the bus operating company, and the driver. Not only that, we also provide a set of algorithms that allow us to create and optimize our routes, so we make them more convenient for the employees and cheaper and more sustainable for our clients. Besides that, it allows this digitalization, it also allows us to provide a business model that offers our clients to share those routes with nearby companies, which means that if you're a large company and you can afford a bus route, but you have empty seats, and you'll probably have, you will be able to sell those empty seats to companies nearby, probably smaller companies, and this is why we can offer solutions to companies of all sizes. Not only that, but our solution is also very flexible, which is critical for the hybrid work model that has arisen or been more popular after the pandemics. What does it mean? That if you can forecast how many employees will go to the office, you'll be able to plan better and more efficiently. So we have a pre-booking system platform that allows us to,
No, that's okay. Don't stop.
Okay.
Keep going. Go on. Just ignore me. Yeah.
Finally, most importantly, we provide outsourcing the management of the solutions, both in one site, but also all over the world.
Okay.
We're global leaders, and we are in 6 countries since 2016, and we've proven that this business makes sense also after pandemics with 6x in sales growth and 5x in operational growth. If you're thinking about improving your employees' daily commute, you definitely should talk to us.
Okay, thank you very much, Eva. Okay, questions. Who's got questions? She mentioned Cristobal.
I was sure you would have a question for me.
She did mention algorithms, so I have to let Luz
You're
ask.
growing very nicely. What's your biggest challenge to keep that 5x?
The biggest challenge so far?
Yeah, no, so far no, going forward, to keep that growth rate.
We have a huge challenge, especially in 3 countries. We are in Brazil. We're already leaders in Brazil, but Brazil is a very large country. So we need to, consolidate that market. And we have just opened Mexico and the US, so that's a big challenge. They're also very wide markets. And being successful in these huge markets, that's a huge challenge.
Do you need to go to more markets or just grow on those?
In the future, for sure, yeah.
When is the future?
It depends on how much money do we have, but...
How much money do you need?
20 million?
20 million.
30?
Okay, calling SoftBank, okay. Okay, Luz, you had a question, yeah?
Oh, please.
And revenue?
Commission fee on top of transportation costs. So we don't cut the benefits of our providers.
And revenue, please.
Revenue, 2 million last year. 20, and 21, 8 million.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
So that wasn't, she wasn't kidding around there, was she? Okay, very good. Okay, any final question while we have the last of the 40 seconds?
Can you talk about the team?
Oh, yeah, we are a team of 70 people spread in Spain, Portugal, Brazil, Mexico, Peru, and the US.
Okay.
4 people founders, 2 coming from the coach operating sector, and 2 from consultancy.
Okay.
It sounds like client acquisition is going to be a very expensive proposition. Out of that revenue, how much of it, and your growth, how much of that falls into profit, or is it all just driving those sales with people?
We have a long time to sales, that's true, but our growth, it's, our high commission fee comes from the sharing, and the huge benefit of this business model is that the most interested people to promote that sharing is the route owner. So my client makes the promotion for me in that sense. So that compensates the long time to sales.
Are they sharing between companies?
Yes.
Okay.
In business parks and industrial areas. Yeah, it really doesn't make sense. Even the largest companies have routes that are full, but most of them have spare capacity. And typically these companies are based in areas where there are a lot of companies, and there's always a lawyer firm, a consulting firm, or even competitors in the industry that share routes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, there certainly is always a lawyer firm. That part is true. Okay, thank you very much, Eva.
Thank you.
That's really interesting. And congratulations, actually, on what you've done. You know, it's very, very impressive to see that growth. As an entrepreneur myself, I know how hard the growth stage is. Okay, fantastic. So Celia is up next. So Celia, if you could walk up the magic stairs and meet the magic man who gives you the magic microphone and the magic... Am I overusing the word magic? Probably am. Okay, so I'll let the judges squiggle their little things on their notepads, and then we're going to have Celia, which is, she's going to talk about 1 million bot. Okay, fantastic. Okay, Celia, just wait for your presentation to appear, and then we can let you go. Oh, fantastic. So let's have a conversation, Celia. Adelante.
Hi, everybody. COVID was difficult for all of us, but it was especially challenging for some countries like Ecuador. We did a project for them. We designed an intelligent assistant that was the official channel of communication with citizens regarding the information of COVID. Of course, it helped them to have a better service for citizens, but much more important, it allowed the government to identify some social crises, in this case, concretely 2 areas, geographic areas.
Sorry, just take off your mask.
Oh, yes, sorry. I didn't even realize that I have it on. Sorry. So it helped the government to identify 2 areas, geographic areas, that were not having access, the right access to food. I'm Celia Sanchez. We make conversation matter, and that's the purpose that we share in the team. What does it mean? It means from citizens to government or company to customer, that we use real language. We make it available in all the channels or communications, multi-channel, omni-channel, and we also make it available. And for that, we combine intelligent assistance. We've developed an artificial intelligence engine. We provide business intelligence, and we integrate automation. From a business model perspective, we have project fees when we do a project, and then we have a subscription fee to the platform that we are using. We provide service to the public sector and also to the private sector, and we have also 2 dedicated verticals, one for universities. We are currently present in more than 20 universities in Spain, and we are a recognized leader in this field, and we are also developing for maritime a vertical using language for automation, increasing the security of the movement of merchandise. We have about 80 projects running at the moment. We have been recognized for COVID, where we work in Kuwait. We work also in Central America, and we were present in about 300 institutions from the public administration. As I mentioned before, we are recognized in universities, and we are currently having projects in 6 countries and expanding. And we warranty about 90, our average is 96 conversation success, which means that the user continues the whole conversation and is happy with it. From a development perspective, we are currently growing. The focus is internationalization, and we are also evaluating to acquire specific technical knowledge to improve our capacities. What makes us unique, we think, is really that conversation and connection is the core of our business, and we use technology to enable it, and the user experience that we provide. The linguistic corpus that we have in Spanish has been recognized also in Catalan, which is an official language in Spain, and we are working with several entities for that. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you,
Let's
Celia.
talk now.
Thank you, Celia. Round of applause, please, for Celia. Okay, 80 projects, 6 countries. Who has the first question? Who would like to kick off, please? Who has the first question on 1 million bot? Don't make me ask a question, guys. You really don't know what tangents I'll go on.
There is hundreds of companies doing bots. So
Sorry?
there is hundreds of companies doing bots. So how do you really differentiate? You put some there, but what's your really differentiation when you go to a customer and said, kick somebody else or use your product? And second, that one, are you getting new projects, or are you kicking out existing bot technologies and using yours?
I will start with the first question. We really think that our differentiation is how we use language. We make very strong engagement. We have also touched on very sensitive topics, sexuality, sexual aggression, and we generate this engagement and this safety space and real understanding. The second differentiation is that we use a lot of data analysis in 2 ways. One is the construction of the assistant, in the sense that based on the information that the company have, we define the assistant the best way. And the second one is we provide the business intelligence afterwards, analyzing the conversation using natural language processing. Your second question was, we have both. So sometimes we enter new and the organization doesn't have any virtual assistant. Sometimes they got the previous experience, they weren't happy, normally because of user experience, and thus we jump in. We even got also customer that we first was in touch with them, they were not convinced or wanted something cheaper or different, and then they came back.
Okay. What are your revenues?
Revenues, I would prefer not to share them publicly, but we've been increasing from last year 150.
How much of that is service fee versus subscription?
At the moment, we have about 30% subscription, and the rest has been project fee.
Okay, he writes it down. He writes down all of them, so everyone gets treated exactly the same. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much, and congratulations on what you've done.
Thank you.
Okay, Ruben with an R is coming next. So Ruben is just got to get mic'd up and got to get the presentation. And there's just Ruben and then David afterwards. So just 2 to go, and then you will be out of here. So we just stick with the last 2. We're kind of moving quickly along, though. It doesn't seem... it's always interesting to hear about just having started businesses myself. You know, I know what this is like. It's really hard, and then just summarize everything in 3 minutes is so difficult, but this is what we do. Okay, so Ruben is step on stage. Is that an official company hoodie?
Yes, it
Ah,
is.
okay, there you go. I always have to ask these things.
And the first thing I'd like to say is, please, Robert, do something with your technology to help us to get rid of COVID so we can throw all the masks, because now it's insupportable. Thank you.
Okay, there you
All
go.
right.
A nice touch among your contestants. You
Yes,
know, that's
yes.
how you never see that in the cutthroat world of entrepreneurship.
All right.
Okay, Ruben, tell us about Next.
So we're Next, a trust service provider enabling the future of digital identity. Please, the jury members and people in the assistance, how many of you over the last 12 months have tried to create an account for a bank, insurance, crowdfunding platform, investment over the last 12 months? Please raise your hands. Yeah, from what I see here, like very shy people, but it's roughly about 50% of the room. Indeed, the identity verification market is increasing because the demand for financial digital product is also increasing. And we have expected the identity verification market to reach $6 billion by 2027. The challenge for regulated company is to navigate between regulation and customer experience while being compliant with AML, KYC, PSD2, MiFID, and so on requirements. And it's quite challenging, and you've experienced all of that. It gives you a bad customer experience. From bottom to top, you have existing solutions such as letter activation code and in-person identity verification. These solutions are really bad because they break the channel that is digital channel, and they also create a lot of friction, increasing the abandonment rates as well as increasing the costs. You have electronic ID official document that can be used. Nevertheless, they have a very low spread, and most of the citizens that don't know how to use them. And finally, you have a video ident solution that require to have an agent behind the screen. But the problem with this agent is the availability, waiting times, also the customer experience that is provided, and the extra cost that it represents to have this agent there. That's the reason why we decided to use artificial intelligence to automate the verification process with machine learning. We speed up the process, we make it automated, and with a better customer experience. It's very easy in 3 steps. The first thing is we make a video recording of your ID document. With this video recording, it enables us to detect all the security features that are present on several ID documents. Then we make a selfie video recording of the user with voice analysis, enabling to do real-time analysis. And we are done. Identity is verified. The algorithm will perform real-time check, liveliness checks, face mask checks, and also document verification for all the security features I've mentioned on different kind of documents, as well as recognition for digital manipulation, such as deepfake. On the left, what anyone can see. On the right, what our algorithm can see. So there is a huge difference. I'm pretty sure that most of you didn't know that you had several pictures on your ID. The benefits, availability, scalable, lower cost, as well as compliant. Current user for coming question, 5 million identity verified. We are growing, adaptable to different sectors. And yeah, these are some of our customers, applicable to bank, insurance, telcos, fintech, insurtech. We also do multiple factor authentication, as well as e-signature. Experience for users, 4.9, iOS 4.8, Android. Yeah, very well rewarded company as well. So if you have any question, happy to answer. Thank you very much, guys. Okay. I'm Ruben, the country manager of Next for Spain.
Ruben.
Thank you very much.
Okay, questions. Identity management should be something loose.
Before to kill me with questions, just be aware we haven't signed any NDA, and we are
So
being
what?
recorded.
That's a real passion killer of any kind. We haven't signed an NDA, and it means nothing. Like, it means nothing.
Well, I have 3. So, business model, revenue, and team.
Business model, so B2B, obviously, offering a software as a service, right? We do not offer embedded solution, just so you're aware of, because we believe in security. We're a trust service provider, and for us it's very important to guarantee the security of the data as well as the service and the product. Okay. Revenue.
NDA.
NDA.
Do you charge per verification? Or you charge on a monthly level? Or?
So there is an implementation fee, which includes activation. There is a fee per verification and a license fee. Our customers, as you understood, are mainly regulated companies, but it's also applicable in several sectors such as gambling, event, e-commerce, e-government administration, almost everywhere that you need to verify the identity of your customers, whether it's because of regulation or because of the risk that you do doing business with your customers.
What's your competitive advantage, or if you have any entry barrier for competitors?
Competitive advantage? Technology. We have a team of about 100 people. Roughly 45% are engineers, of which some of them are specialized in computing vision analysis, and which is called also vision intelligence nowadays. And as you understood, what we do is a video recording of the ID document. We don't do a scan. We don't do a picture. And that's what's enabled us to get 27 pictures per second, not just one. And that is the big difference. We can certify the authenticity of a document.
And why the voice?
Sorry?
Why do you record the voice as well?
Liveliness. We basically detect all the muscles being used during the pronunciation of the two random words, and therefore we match them with the type of words to make sure that it's happening in lifetime.
Okay, fantastic. We have to cut it off there. Even though your voice is beautiful and your mannerisms are beautiful and all of that, we have to cut you off there.
Thank you
okay, thank you very much, Ruben.
Thank you very much, guys.
Give a round of applause. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, we have David. Or do we have David? Yes. We've seen him earlier, so he's coming back. So, yes, up the stairs. And this is the last speaker of the evening. And I'm just looking at, we're sort of 23 minutes over time. But still, you have to treat the last speaker of the day with exactly the same courtesy as the first speaker of the day. So, David, you're going to talk to us about Zeleros. Okay, so we just got to wait for ye old presentation to appear. Although you could probably give the talk without the presentation, you've seen it so much. Okay, let's Hyperloop.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you. I'm David Pistoni, CEO and co-founder of Zeleros, the European company based in Spain, leading the development of a scalable Hyperloop system. Hyperloop is basically a train levitating inside a tubing vacuum. In this way, we can achieve speeds up to 1,000 kilometers per hour with low energy consumption. Thanks to this technology, we can connect different regions and cities to move passengers and cargo, reducing the carbon footprint of the network. And the World Economic Forum defined Hyperloop as one of the 20 markets of tomorrow that can transform our economies. The interest of the different governments and industries is increasing year by year. But what are we doing in Zeleros? We are designing and developing a unique technology combining most part of the systems inside of the vehicle instead of the infrastructure. We are combining a linear motor for the acceleration phase with a magnetic levitation system and guidance, and then we use an aerodynamic propulsion system similar to an aircraft but fully electric. Thanks to the combination of these technologies, we can reduce the complexity of the infrastructure, and then we have two main benefits. First one is we reduce the infrastructure cost compared with, for example, another means of transportation, as the levitation trains we have in Japan or China. And the second main benefit is we can use commercial technology similar to the aircraft sector, so we can have an easier way to certify the technologies, as we are at aircraft pressure and not space pressure. That is one of the challenges if we don't have our technology implemented in the vehicle. Everything started with the Elon Musk competition, where we won the best Hyperloop proposal prize and the best Hyperloop propulsion system prize. And then we decided to create Zeleros to develop our own vision of Hyperloop together with our partners. We are a team of 50 engineers, PhDs, business experts, together with different partners of the technology side, business side, the support of the institutions, and from our private investors. This ecosystem is needed to create something as big as Hyperloop, and our vision is always to collaborate, to join forces, to make real this new technology. Our roadmap is divided in 3 stages. The first one is to validate and optimize the technologies at the laboratory scale. Then we integrate these technologies in a 3 kilometers test track. And finally, we will be ready to market in 2030 with our product, first for cargo and then for passengers, always aligned with the regulations process that is already ongoing. We are always looking to apply our technologies also to other sectors, like the case of logistics in ports and airports. And we are also showing the society that Hyperloop is closer than we can imagine, for example, in the Expo Dubai this year and next year. Thank you very much.
Please. Okay, questions on the Hyperloop? Nick.
You showed a map showing a pan-European Hyperloop network. Is this an all-or-nothing thing where the EU buys it in whole? Is it possible to sell it market by market? Can you interchange with other private Hyperloop? Is there any sort of standardization? I mean, it feels very shoot for the moon project. How realistic is a rollout of this at the scale you're showing for your company?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. It's a really good one. This is basically an example of how Europe could be connected with Hyperloop. It's part of the Vision 2050. It's one of our projects that you can check in our website, in Celeros.com. And in this case, for Europe, we analyzed a 50 billion euros opportunity per year if we have this network already completed. But it's not a just one-shot network, everything together. We can start with specific connections, specific routes, and then extend this network. And about the standardization, it's completely key. The European Commission wants to support Hyperloop. It's already supporting Hyperloop. And we have a committee in Senfenelec called JTC20 that is already working on the standardization of Hyperloop, because it makes no sense to have different Hyperloops distributed around the regions. And then if we are not allowed to connect it, if we don't have interoperability between regions, we lose a big part of the power of Hyperloop. So the answer is we can start step by step, and standardization is completely key to develop the network.
How far away do you think standardization is?
We are now defining the base. We have 2 working groups. We have a chairman, we have the secretary. There are different countries involved. Spain and the Netherlands are leading now the general management of the group. But then inside of the working groups, there are different experts from different industries. It's not about just the Hyperloop promoters talking about what's the best option. We are also having feedback from other industries. And now we are defining the base. It's early to say how Hyperloop is going to be in 2030, but we have to start today because this process is really long. And the base is being established now and defining the roadmap for the next stages. So I think we have a good timing, and we are aligning the technology development with the standardization process.
Yeah. Have you ridden the Hyperloop, Dave, in Los Angeles or somewhere, or have you actually ridden a Hyperloop?
Sorry?
Have you traveled in one?
There's no Hyperloop.
Not yet.
Okay. So I mean, where is the first one going to be?
The first one?
Yeah.
We have different regions analyzed.
Yeah.
I don't want to say just one,
okay.
But we have we see Europe leading the definition of the standards and regulations.
Okay.
But we see also potential routes in Asia, Middle East, the east of Australia, United States. So there are many routes that are optimal for Hyperloop. I can't say who is going to be the first one, but I think Europe has a really good opportunity to lead, and we have to take this opportunity.
Okay, Cristobal wants a quick question.
Yes, you said 2030 to have this. Is there any revenues before that for using the technology, alternatives, etc., or is until 2030 put all the money and wait that we deliver?
On one side, for the main objective of Celeros, that is developing the Hyperloop, we are combining both private and public finance, and we have a roadmap of milestones that allow us to grow in a safe, in a healthy way, having this amount of funding we need, also collaborating with the strategic partners that are going to take part of the benefits as well in the future. So it's closer to a biotech or pharma structure than a digital startup, so it's a different scheme. But at the same time, we have brilliant people in the team. We are developing amazing technologies, so we are always looking how to apply these technologies in other products. And this is example of the logistics in ports and airports will be ready in 2 years. We are preparing the pilot for next year.
How much money you need until 2030?
It's a good question as well. I am going to use a comparison with for example, the aircraft sector. A program for an airplane is around 2 billion euros, but it depends on how many of the subsystems of the vehicle we are going to take to the market. We will need more or less inside of this program. We are already cooperating with some partners that are going to take part of the development, part of the risk, and at the same time, part of the benefit. So we can say that the big number is 2 billion, around 2 billion. We are still working on it, but at the same time, we can reduce that collaborating with other players.
Okay, well, maybe Elon Musk can sell some Bitcoin and, you know, send some 2 billion over your way rather than doing something like that. Okay, thank you. That's the end of question. Thank you very much for David. Okay, so that was the 10 startup competitions, and that brings the program to an end today. We don't announce the results until tomorrow, so that's the good news, that you can all go home. You don't have to wait around. Thank you, everyone, for staying to the end. Thank you for the people who have been with us all today. A big round of applause, both for the presenters and also for the judges, please. Tomorrow we begin at 10 o'clock back at the Red Sea. I've been Joe, was I? Oh, yeah, they're going to do something. You killed my rhythm. I had this kind of emotional thing I was on. Anyway, there you go. Okay, anyway, I've been Joe Haslam, and I'm a professor at the IE Business School who was pulled into this thing at short notice because Alex got COVID. So thank you for putting up with me today, and the bad news is I'll be back tomorrow. So have a good evening and see you all tomorrow. Bye!